to us about it. But there was a very similar, for those who might be interested in this type of stuff, apparently there's a very similar event just before the Britain's Queen was not anointed or appointed, what do you call it? And now one just before. So some people in England are making that connection. But
all right. Just very quickly, right? I remember as a young boy going to Glendon National School, right? This is like 30 plus years ago. And there was this, the papers probably have something on it, right? But over 30 years ago, probably 35, 40, well, good years ago, right? But there was a big hole just developed in a piece of ground up in Glendon, right?
Like a sinkhole.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Could it have been a meteor? I don't know.
Maybe.
But it was a massive big hole, like just plumb, just landed.
Normally that is water going underneath the ground and eventually, or a cave or something, and eventually the ground gives way. Anyway, where was that?
At Glendon.
Anyone know what happened in Glendon over 30 years ago?
It's a long time ago, I know. Don't even go there. You're all right. Have a good show, right?
Take care, Lee. It is the 9 till noon show, 9:05. Let's get a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There are calls from within Fianna Fáil to allow Bertie Ahern back into the party. A meeting of the Parliamentary Party heard contributions to allow the former Taoiseach to rejoin ahead of the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement next year, according to the Irish Examiner. Donegal Senator Niall Blaney is reported to have called on the party to act in a spirit of inclusivity in terms of Mr Ahern's contribution to achieving peace. Mr Ahern resigned from the party in 2012 following the Mahon Tribunal. Donegal County Council is being urged to review traffic management in Buncrana. An increase in traffic in the area is said to have had a negative impact on congestion in the town. Councillor Rena Donaghy is calling for a new traffic management plan to be put in place and for works to commence on establishing an inner relief road. She says infrastructure must be improved in tandem with the growth of Buncrana.
We have the new 3-campus school coming on. We have the new primary care centre, which will be like a mini hospital. And we have the digital hub. We already have 2 secondary schools in Buncrana and a third on the outskirts. It is a very busy town. At peak times, it's absolutely jammed. And we definitely need to look at a plan for the traffic in the area to make the passing a lot quicker.
2 children who died in a car fire in Westmeath last week will be laid to rest this morning. A criminal investigation is continuing into the suspicious deaths of 2-year-old Mikey Dennany and his 5-year-old sister Thelma. Their mother Lynn Eager remains in hospital with non-life-threatening but serious injuries after being pulled from the burning vehicle by a passerby. A Midlands North West MEP has expressed her disappointment that her proposal to have 2023 designated as a European year dedicated to mental health was unsuccessful. Maria Walsh had been optimistic the initiative would have been ratified in the European Parliament yesterday, but instead it was announced that next year would be the year of education and training. The MEP says she was disappointed but welcomed the announcement that mental health is to be one of the European citizens' panels in the Conference on the Future of Europe. She says he's encouraged to see the plans put in place for mental health to be widely discussed.
It's not what I was hoping. I'd be on the radio today saying, yes, we've delivered an EU year for mental health, but it's certainly one step closer to where we're going to get to. I will give credit to Ursula von der Leyen, to our President of the Commission. She listened to all the engagement we've had to date and has dedicated a citizens panel to mental health. A citizens panel will take in over 200 voices. A large percentage of that is dedicated to young people's voices. It's a real good measuring stepping stone into making sure we're moving together.
Weather now today will be largely dry with a fair amount of cloud and some sunny intervals. Highest temperatures of 14 or 15 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Whoa!
Did you see that?
She just unfolded her Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4.
I didn't know you could have hands-free video calls on a phone and paint a beautiful self-portrait at the same time.
And now she's taking selfies while doing her nails.
That's mad.
Hands-free video calls and photos with the Galaxy Z Flip 4. A serious flex. Buy yours and get a guaranteed €250 off when you trade in any smartphone in any condition at Samsung.com. Purchase by 31st of October. Your old phone for trade-in required. T's and C's apply.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
And
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And it's just turned 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 15th of September 2022. How are you? I do hope you are all very well. Yeah, indeed, mentioned to Lee Gooch last night. Just shortly after 10 o'clock, I started getting messages about people that saw this really bright light flying across the sky. For those of you watching actually on social media, and you can watch right now on our website highlandradio.com or on YouTube Highland Radio Ireland, or across our Facebook pages. Here's some footage of it. It's like a missile or something. It's looped footage, by the way. It's only about 6 seconds long, but this was intensely bright and it passed across the Donegal sky, and it was spotted then in other parts of this island and our neighbours too. People reported hearing a bang. Apparently that wasn't it hitting the ground. That's apparently something to do with it and the sound barrier. But anyway, it was a significant event and hundreds of you seen it seemingly. And we'll be finding out exactly what went on with an expert in that area a little later on. That and so much more besides. We hope to have Minister Charlie McConnell on the programme a little later on. A number of questions for him that I've committed to ask on behalf of people to try and get some answers on some certain things. So we'll see how we get on with that. That and so much more besides. We really have a busy show for you. Get in touch with us. You know the numbers, don't you? It's 07491 25000. Caroline and Donna Marie taking your calls. Or WhatsApp or text 08660 25000. And that's your text and WhatsApps. I mentioned that, didn't you? Or feel free to comment on the socials if you're watching or listening to the programme that way. And also, too, and one of the main reasons why I began trying to stream the programme was because we can provide subtitles with it. And I do know there are a number of people who are hard of hearing, but they can enjoy the show and interact with the show because they're not fantastic because they're computer generated by the social media outlets, but captions are available for you if you switch them on Facebook. And I do know there are a couple of people, and one would be enough for me, who can benefit by keeping up to date with everything that's happening visually because they can't audially or through audio. All right, the Tyrconnell Tribune this morning as Donegal homeowners with mica-infected blocks face into yet another winter. A leading campaigner has called for a more urgent response from Donegal County Council and the Department of Housing. With no real sign of progress from remediation, Fianna Fáil's Councillor Martin McDermott says the Department of Housing and Donegal County Council must get an urgent grip on the crisis ahead of 2023, with further delays very possible well into next year. And he says there's a real fear that many houses already with damaged block work will deteriorate even further over the coming winter. Mr. Councillor McDermott says the backlog of applications in Lifford in urgent need of a resolution is quite frightening, and it seems to be that there is a stalemate and too many families are living in fear and their homes are falling down. On to the Donegal Democrat now, and they have a feature on plans to open areas in Donegal for wind farms and some strong opposition to it. And some of that opposition was from Eamon Ryan, because Eamon Ryan on this programme said that he believed that Donegal had reached its maximum potential in terms of onshore wind energy, that they would look elsewhere for to create power via wind, but that offshore would be a focus. But it seems, according to this story, that onshore wind energy in Donegal is back on the table. I think it was never off the table, and we're a soft target for this type of development up here, I believe. But anyway, proposals to scrap parts of the wind section of the Donegal development plan to allow for wind farm developments in sensitive areas around the county have generated shock and anger from the public and environmental groups here. Minister for State with responsibility for planning and local government, Longford Westmeath Fine Gael TD Peter Burke, has put Donegal County Council on notice of his intention to revise their wind energy policy framework and to overturn a decision made by councillors only weeks ago. The Minister is proposing to scrap two sections of the wind farm policy. They are E-P-23 and EP24, which in essence remove protections from the County Development Plan 2018 to 2020. Okay, well, we'll see how that plays out. On to the Donegal news now. We will not spend another winter here. Mica homeowners across the county are living in fear of the winter ahead as they question how they're going to heat their crumbling homes with energy costs soaring. As the cracks in their walls grow bigger, it's set to be a gruelling few months ahead for those desperately trying to keep warm and keep the drafts out. Speaking to the Donegal News yesterday, Letterkenny homeowner Peter Patton said, as well as worrying about their home falling around them, they now have to worry about finding the extra money to keep it warm. And anyone with a drafty house, and I mean drafty by, older house standards, knows that as soon as you switch the heating on, the house cools down so quickly. So you can only imagine what it's like for, unless you are one of those affected, you can certainly imagine it because it's a lived nightmare, but you can only imagine how quickly a home with mica cools down. If that is, of course, if you can get it heating up at all in the first place. Let's look at the Derry news this morning. Derry City and Strabane District Council should, as a matter of urgency, convene with the Dáil and Westminster to establish a new north-south body for higher education in the northwest. The call came from Derry University Group, which is fighting for an independent third-level higher education institution for Northwest Ireland, managed autonomously by the city region. The north-south body for higher education in the northwest was one of the key proposals in a recent report by the Royal Irish Academy's Higher Education Task Force, which comprises 40 of the leading educationalists on the island. Also heard on the news there, not sure if it's in the papers, I didn't see it in any of the stories anyway, that Bertie Ahern, there are calls, and it seems Niall Blaney is one of the chief cheerleaders for me. It's in the Irish. Do I have the Irish Examiner? I don't have the Irish Examiner. That Bertie Ahern should be welcomed back into the Fianna Fáil party, because in fairness, in terms of certainly the media have done their bit in rehabilitating his reputation, and now some feel it's time for him to re-enter Fianna Fáil. So if you are a Fianna Fáil member, preferably, because of course if you're not a Fianna Fáil member, it might be easier to predict what your response might be, but if you are a supporter of Fianna Fáil, do you think now is the time for Bertie Ahern, for all he achieved outside of some of his negatives, is it time for him to be back in Fianna Fáil? Would the leadership want it though as well too? All right, the Irish Independent now, €1,000 boost for families as tax and USC cuts are on the cards. This is more kite flying from the I'm not saying the media wing of the government, but they get all the bits and bobs of information, and it seems to be generally positive on the front pages of this particular paper every day. But anyway, the average worker could get tax cuts of up to $1,000 a year in the budget if the government introduces a series of measures outlined this week. Public Expenditure Minister Michael McGrath told a Fianna Fáil thinking about a potential $1.8 billion package that would bring sweeping reductions to income tax in USC, along with increases in tax credits. If all the measures are announced on budget day, it could mean a tax earner earning €45,000 could save as much as €959 a year, which is fantastic if you're on $45,000 a year, but the majority of people in this county are on nowhere near that. So their savings would be much less, but they've averaged it to 45%. I presume that's in and around the average industrial wage. But at a presentation to a Fianna Fáil Thinking this week, Mr McGrath outlined how much a range of specific tax cuts would cost should they be agreed by the three coalition leaders. Ministers are considering increasing standard income rate bands by $2,500, a 2% increase to USC bands at $1,500, as well as a rise in personal tax credits of €100 for single people and $200 for married couples. The PAYE credit might also be increased by $100. But anyway, what they're saying is in a nutshell, if you're on $45,000 a year, you could be $1,000 a year better off. The Irish Times, a man named as a key member of the Kinahan cartel and placed under sanction by US authorities earlier this year was in a Spanish prison last night after being arrested on charges of laundering money for the crime gang. Now, John Morrissey, he's a very interesting character, very flamboyant. He kind of looks like one of the lead characters on The Wire, old TV show, if you might remember that program. But anyway, he is a very flamboyant character. He was involved in a bar and a vodka or something like that, and had lavish parties in Spain and all that type of stuff. And he was one of those named by the US as a higher up in the Kinahan cartel. He's arrested now. He's in cuffs. So his future, we'll see what that holds. John Morrissey was among 7 criminals, including cartel founder Christy Kinahan and his sons Daniel and Christopher Jr. Daniel, I think, has fled Dubai now and is looking for a hold up in Asia somewhere. but they were all targeted when the sanctions were imposed by the US Department of the Treasury in April. He is the first member of the cartel's leadership to be arrested since the measures were announced by the American authority, which said Morrissey was close to cartel leader Daniel Kinahan and invited to his wedding in Dubai in 2017. Okay. Also, a quick word on the EU windfall tax. Apparently, it's unlikely to yield billions for Ireland, so we're not going to do too well out of that. Remember, I was supposing yesterday morning, could it be the big difference maker for us? Well, apparently it is not going to be. Hopefully we shall benefit on some level. Right, the Irish Daily Mail were being told and urged to cut back on energy use for 6 months as Europe is in the grip of the worst energy crisis it's ever faced. And just in casual conversation, many people I am talking to are very conscious of where the electricity price is going. Now, they're not doing it to help out the EU, but they're doing it to try and save money themselves. People are switching to LED light bulbs, for example, and getting little plugs that sort of measure how much individual items use in terms of drawing down power. You know, people really are starting to think of electricity as a finite commodity. Well, certainly a very expensive one. But we're being urged to cut back on energy use for 6 months as Europe is in the grip of the worst energy crisis it's ever faced. With emergency talks at EU level ramping up, member states have been told to cut back on their overall electricity demand by at least 10% until March 31, next as the Taoiseach warned of a difficult winter in store. It comes as 1.25 million households will face extortionate or exorbitant hikes in their bills in a fortnight when the latest tranche of price hikes will take effect from October 1st, just after the budget, just after when the government announces 200 payments to try and take the weight off to take the pressure off. We will see hikes just a couple of days later. It's kind of insult to injury, isn't it? But look, I'm sure there is a benefit to the data centres, in terms of the Irish economy, and maybe you have to look at the bigger picture. But we're being asked to save 10%. The data centres themselves currently are responsible for 15%. So without the data centres, you could say in terms of supply and demand, we would not have an energy crisis in this country. And more data centres coming on stream next year, including, as we heard on the programme yesterday, one for the TikTok company. But anyway, I think people will be cutting back around about 10% of electricity use to save money themselves. The people I would have interactions with. Anyway, what about you guys? 086 60 25,000. The Irish Farmers Journal. A penalty regime similar to speeding fines is being considered for breaches of cattle tagging rules. Proposals from the Department of Agriculture could result in livestock farmers receiving fixed penalty notices of €250 where they are deemed to have seriously breached animal tagging and registration rules. The fixed notice regime, if introduced, will replace the current system whereby penalties are levied on farmers' basic payment scheme entitlements under cross-compliance. The proposed changes to the tagging regime were discussed this week by the Department of Fiscal officials, isn't it, and representatives of the main farming organisations. All right. Anytime there's anything to do with the Royals or an event in Britain, James McLean seems to be in the papers. He must be nearing the end of his career at this stage anyway. But Ireland soccer star James McLean, we read in The Star, has again been targeted by trolls who angrily accused him of not showing enough respect to the late Queen of England. The 33-year-old from Derry wore a black armband and bowed his head while observing a minute's silence before the Wigan match on Tuesday. But the striker, who has previously received death threats for not wearing a poppy, stood apart from his teammates with his hands behind his back. So you can picture the image. All his teammates are standing arms over each other. And he is, socially distancing off to the left, but still showing respect. Before the match, James said, unless you are a nationalist that was born and raised in Derry or anywhere else in the north of Ireland, then don't assume to speak on our behalf unless you can relate. So I think it was a fair enough compromise. As I say, he wore the band, he bowed his head, he was respectful, but he didn't go as far as his teammates did. What do you think? Or if you've got a view, text us. Not good news if you're enjoying your takeaways. The Irish Daily Mirror tells us that kebabs, burgers, chips and pizzas all could be hit with new levies under proposals. The Taxation Commission suggested introducing a special rate for unhealthy ultra-processed foods Its report, launched by Finance Minister Pascal Donoghue, states the government should reserve the right to impose taxes on the consumption of ultra-processed foods to support its policy of reformulation. Lads, I would say now is not the time. It might not be very, very good food, but for some people, it's the affordable food. But secondly, as well, a lot of people, it's the treat. They can't necessarily go to the pub. They don't go to the cinema. The treat is going for a takeaway. They don't have them every night. They don't have them every week, even in some cases. Bloody hell, just leave this. There's lots of things you could not tax, but why go after this as well? There are more than 100 recommendations in the report on potential taxation streams, including hiking levies on property and roads. It also claims the corporation tax, 13 billion this year, is not sustainable going into the future. But we know that. We know that's an unstable tax because business could change and it disappears. A disappointment for Aslan fans, although their disappointment would be, I'm sure, lesser than the concern for the lead singer of Aslan. They've had to cancel their 40th anniversary gig after lead singer Christy Dignam suffered a health setback and is now back in hospital. Saturday's show at Dublin's 3 Arena was due to be the veteran band's biggest to date, but Ticketmaster yesterday told fans they were postponing the concert and were working on a new date for Christy, Billy McGuinness, Alan Downey and Joe Jewell to play. Crazy World singer Christy, 62, was diagnosed with an incurable blood cancer called amyloidosis in 2013 and has been receiving chemotherapy ever since. And his health can be pretty good. Last time we were speaking to him, his health was pretty good, but he also knows that at times it can turn the other way. So we hope that this is a blip and he's back out on stage just as soon as is possible. But as I say, disappointment for those of you planning to go to the 3 Arena, but I'm sure your concern for Christy there in that instance would trump that. All right, let's take a break.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
Tourism businesses have a brand new mark of employer excellence, driven by the employee's voice. The Employer Excellence Programme recognises employers who consistently create better workplaces for their employees. Attract and retain top talent. Shine the spotlight on your business. The Employer Excellence Programme. Learn more at falltoireland.ie.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunloe are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
If you're aged 50 to 64, it's time to boost your protection from COVID-19. Your protection from previous vaccines or from COVID-19 infection decreases over time. Your next vaccine will help protect you from serious illness in the months ahead. Book an appointment at a HSE vaccination centre on hse.ie. Call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 or contact a participating GP or pharmacy from the HSE. For us all.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing. Our bumper magazine has everything you need, including exhibitor listings, site map, event programmes, plus directions on how to get there and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
All right, what are the most significant road projects going on at the moment in the county? Is the Four Lanes project. It is the road into Letterkenny, but it's the road into West and North Donegal as well, particularly the further north in the country you're travelling. It is the main route. If you want to go to Dunlow from Strabane, you have to go on this road and through Letterkenny. Last time we talked about the 4 lanes, because obviously there's a couple of things going on here. There is motorists. Now, I think at the moment traffic moving relatively smoothly because it is 4 lanes. But there are businesses there, and I know myself that I was going to go to a business, and because I couldn't get access to it, I drove on. Now, I did go back to it a few days later, but it puts people off, I think. But anyway, the last time we were talking about this project, we were told that it was going to be completed by November. And barring a miracle, and I'm no roads engineer, I can't see how that could be the case. We're joined on the programme now by the Mayor of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly, to discuss this. Donald, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg, and good morning to all your listeners there this morning.
Right, so take us back to that meeting, what, about 4 or 6 weeks ago, maybe a little longer? You were told that this would all be done and dusted by November, were you?
Yeah, Greg, with a meeting with the contractors there of the 4-lane project, but back in, it was actually July time, and listen, at the time, we raised our concerns, both ourselves as councillors and Donegal County Council, and also the Chamber of Commerce was there as well, with business owners as well attended the meeting, and we feared that this was running way off schedule, but the contractors at the time made us aware that they were fairly sure that they would have this wrapped up by November, but as things stand at the minute there, I can't see this being read up for November.
But at the time, the thing that was bothering me about it, and and everyone was talking about, the cost of materials and all this type of stuff. But there is a section of that road that needs to be realigned. There is a section of that road whereby a footpath and cycle lane, it's on the left as you head out towards Derry, has to, I presume there must be a bridge or something in the way. It comes to a halt and then restarts on the other side, which I presume it must be a bridge. Like, do we know, and I think I asked you this question in July, is there even a plan or a programme of works as to how that engineering is going to be completed? No one has been able to answer that question for me. Why has this part of the road just been left and they're carrying on with footpaths on the other side of the road?
Yeah, Greg. You're correct there to an extent, Greg. And I'm sure, as far as I'm aware, there is a program in place there as well. And I mean, listen.
Could you get that clarified, Donald? Because you've got the contacts and I can't. Could you get it clarified if that section of road, if Donegal County Council has a plan as to how that bit of road is going to be constructed? Can you check that for us?
Yeah, Greg, I certainly will. I have a question put forward now for next week's MD meeting, looking for an update on the 4-lane project and when it will be completed as well. And listen, there's a number of issues and concerns I have myself that I will be bringing up at the meeting and looking for answers on, because I fear that this won't work. Like, we're coming in now to that next month, whether we like it or not, you're coming into the festive season, and Christmas is only around the corner. Things are going to get busy. You have a lot of businesses along that road, and believe me, the businesses as it is are suffering because of the project being so far behind and taking so long. And I mean, we're coming on now to the busy season at Christmas, and it's not fair in these businesses to suffer any longer. And I think as well, as Donegal County Council as a body should be applying more pressure on the contractors of the 4-lane to get this moving quicker, put more men on the ground, and have the work completed sooner rather than later.
Do you think the council have, as they are, I presume they oversee this work, do you believe the council have been informed by the contractor when this project will actually be completed? Because, I mean, that's information the council should have to hand, especially as they are taking the money and spending the money of businesses on that road, and those businesses deserve to know. So do you think the council actually have been informed by the contractor when this work will actually be completed?
No, Greg, I don't think the council have been informed by the contractor, to be quite honest, but that's something I'll be asking now in Monday's meeting as well, because that's something we definitely need to get clarified there. I mean, listen, when this project's complete, it will be a great job, but we just need to get the pressure on to have this completed as a matter of urgency, because as I say, Greg, we're coming into the festive season, and we don't want traffic builds up there. We're waiting to install traffic lights there at the Polestar roundabout as well. That's going to definitely help the traffic flow there at that, I suppose, a major arteries there coming in and out of the town. And I mean, the sooner we can't get these traffic lights erected until the 4-lane project is complete. And I mean, we need to be applying as much pressure now as possible to get this project complete. If that means putting more men on the ground, that's something that needs to happen.
Yeah, but I get where you're talking about, right? And I know there has to be work, but it's this section of the road, right? This section of the road whereby the footpath and the cycle lane just stops. Okay, there's an entire 100 meters of the road there. Presumably, it involves a bit of a realign. Do you know if that's a bridge that's there? I don't know what's going on there. Like, why has the road, the 4 lanes, as you approach Letterkenny, just stopped at that point? And is there even a plan, as I've asked before, but just to reiterate it again, as to how that part, because that in and of itself is looks like an incredibly, relatively anyway, complex piece of work. So why has it not been tackled with the rest of the project? What is unique about this section between the Polestar and where the cycle and bicycle lane begins? What is it about that section that they're not touching?
Yeah, well, that's something that we're going to have to get clarified as well, Greg. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there's a design there for it's like a footbridge to go on there. Whether that's holding the thing back or what, I'm not 100% sure, but it's definitely something that needs to be raised, and we need to get answers to, and it's something that I will be raising now come Monday to get clarification on that.
Like, has the footbridge, if it's a footbridge, has it been ordered? I presume it has to be, it has to be made to measure. It's not going to be constructed on site by about using 2x4s. Like, has that bridge, if it is a bridge, has it been ordered? Has it been designed? Has it been measured? Is it with a manufacturer? Are we waiting on its delivery? I think those are the questions that will give us the real indication as to when this project might actually be completed.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, Greg, and that's something that I will be looking clarified come Monday's meeting, because we need to know these answers at this stage, and we need to know exactly where this project's at, and we need to be given a time frame as well for all the businesses, not only the businesses on the 4-lane, but all the businesses of Letterkenny as well. Come into the festive season, they're all going to feel the effects of this as well, and we need to just get this pushed forward sooner rather than later. If it means having men on the ground there morning, noon and night, I think it's something that we need to be looking at. Get men on the job and get it progressing as fast as possible now before coming on to Christmas.
All right, Councillor Donald Coyle, good morning. Are you there, Donald? No, he's away. Put the phone down for a second. We'll wait for him to come back in. All right, well, you had the motion there already, by the way, and the motion reads, can I have an update on when the 4-lane project will be completed, as it appears to be behind schedule? Will it be completed ahead of the Christmas period? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, Councillor Kelly, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. We'll be back with more after this break. Donald Coyle, sorry, beg your pardon. Councillor Donald Coyle, are you there? No. Okay, we'll get him after this break. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunnes Stores gives you new ways to save on your shop with Double Savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your basket with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Shrink your bill with Double Savers, new from Dunnes Stores. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
My worry was I going to live or was I not going to live? That's the worry you have with prostate cancer.
My advice to men is quite simple. Never, ever, ever take your good health for granted. Recognise the symptoms. Get checked.
This September, the Marie Keating Foundation is asking you to stand up for your prostate. Find out more at mariekeating.ie, kindly supported by Estellas.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin. Bathroom yard sale starts Thursday the 15th to Saturday the 17th of September. Be quick or you'll miss out on bargains galore. Toilets, vanity units, wet room screens, shower cubicles and more. In-store 15% off all bathware. Remember, 3 days only. Miss it, miss out. Telephone 91 43942.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. Drive into our newly renovated spacious forecourt. Fill up with our upgraded modern fuel pumps and save with our keen Go Fuel prices. Located on the main Letterkenny to Derry Road, we're the ideal pit stop on your Donegal journey. Fast flow fuel, self-service or attended with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Okay, we have reconnected with Councillor Donal Coyle. Yes, Donal, have you any information on this, the latest on this 4 lanes project?
Yeah, in relation to the footpath coming out from the Polestar, because of the fact that the river bank is just right along the road there, it wasn't possible to put on a footpath there. So what has been proposed and what has been proposed from the very beginning is that there would be a raised platform there, and that's the plan for that path along there.
So it's not a bridge then; it's just a raised platform.
A raised platform, yeah.
So you'd be able to cycle over it effectively as well.
I hope that you're able to cycle and walk over it. Yeah.
All right, and do you know when construction on that section of this road would be beginning, or what's the hold up there? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I know that there was a lot of technical work to be done, like you know, and that to be done in relation to that. But I'm not sure now when that particular piece of work is to start on that. But I'm hoping, look, that the 4 lane will be complete by before Christmas anyway. You know.
Do you want to? I don't know if you're a gambling man, but do you want a tenner on it?
Well, I have been told anyway. Like you know,
I know, and you can only go by what you're being told. Yeah, but you think that we could see a rapid acceleration of work? Then is that what you feel?
Well, what I have been told is that all 4 lanes will be open before Christmas. That's the exact words that I have been given.
Okay, and there might be some other work that needs to be carried out after Christmas.
Well, look at now that hasn't been said, like you know. But of course, like in all these projects, like you know, a contract is drawn up, a price is given, and look, you know, like this job should have been completed a number of months ago. And look at I know you have people on to tell you, you know, that one thing and another, that what the hold up, what's in getting material and all of this. Look at but for goodness sake, it's only a very short stretch. And look at people are really fed up at this stage, and they want to see the 4 lanes open and everything in place.
I agree. Okay, listen, thank you for your time and thanks for the information, and we'll see where it goes from there. It'll be interesting if we get some clarification on that for Monday. All right, thanks for your time.
Oh, thank you. Now,
all right,
thanks,
take
Greg.
care.
Thank
That
you.
is Councillor Donal Coyle, and thanks as well, of course, as we heard a little earlier on from Councillor Mandy Kelly. Right, okay, so there was amazing scenes some people witnessed yesterday, just about 10 o'clock. A fireball flying across the northwest sky, and we're going to try and find out a little bit more about this. It wasn't only just spotted there, it was elsewhere. And for those of you watching on our website or across our streams, I'm looping a video, some footage that was sent to me, and it looks like a rocket. It doesn't look like a meteor, I suppose. But anyway, David Moore, editor of Astronomy Ireland magazine, joins us. Hey, David. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on the show. Right, okay. So this was unique. You know, we get reports on this type of stuff from time to time, as you do as editor of Astronomy Ireland. But this lit up the sky, and people were hearing a bang shortly after seeing it. Now, I presume that must be to do with, you know, the speed of sound or something, rather than it hitting anything, because it did then travel over Britain. So what, as best as we can determine, David, did people witness?
Well, certainly something burnt up in the atmosphere over all of Ireland and Britain last night. Reports have come in from as far as London over to Killarney, and then up to Donegal and across Scotland, including the north coast of Scotland. So it was definitely something very high in the atmosphere burning up. And given how long it lasted, lots of people are saying over 10 seconds. I've seen some people saying up to 40 seconds. That does tend to suggest it was something coming in either parallel to the ground, which is quite rare for a meteor, or it was a piece of manned space debris, an old rocket, satellite, lowering itself, as it were, onto the atmosphere and then burning up in a very long, slow trajectory. We don't quite know exactly what it was, other than something from space burning up and producing an absolutely spectacular fireball that a lot of people were very lucky to see, because there were a lot of clouds around.
Yeah, but the image I'm showing here on our live stream is it's so bright. There's a light covering of cloud, but it still is clear through it. And people in the northwest, and maybe it's how it interacts with the chemicals in the atmosphere, report it of being very, very green. But a note from some other videos further east that it has a more of a reddish colour to it.
Yeah, I've seen pictures that show it distinctly as orange, but most of them have the green tinge to it. And when the objects vaporize like that, the colours of light that they give you a hint as to what they're made of. And green has been associated in the past with the kind of materials used in spacecraft as well. But there have been natural meteorites that cause green fireballs as well. So we can't exactly tell for sure. But as well as producing massive fireball, lots of sparks coming off the back in some of the video, there were nice colours to see as well. This was a complete fireball that did everything for us.
Will we ever be able to determine what it was? I mean, would something have hit the ground? Could it have burnt up in its entirety in the atmosphere? Do we know?
Yeah, there are people who are now looking into what spacecraft, what bits of rockets were due to burn up and re-enter in the atmosphere. It's very hard to tell to the last few minutes because it depends on so many factors, the size and shape of the object. If it's a big man-made object that's quite large, say like a flat sheet of paper, not that it would be that, then that will interact with the atmosphere in one way. It's a solid ball that'll interact in a different way and can get down a bit lower. So there are people scouring the databases. There's over 40,000 objects being tracked around space to see, was one of them due to burn up like this? And no doubt someone will find it if it was man-made. As I said, it could have been natural, in which case we get no warning. It's a tiny object in space, totally dark as far as we're concerned, before it hits the atmosphere. Then it flares up in a massive brightness.
Right,
But
so what size may it have been, from what we have seen, what size might it have been as people were seeing it in the sky?
Well, it's a good question, because these objects are very small usually. If it was a naturally occurring object, then to produce a fireball as bright as that, it probably doesn't need to be much bigger than, let's say, a piece of fruit up to, say, microwave size.
No way. There's no way this was a piece of fruit, David. It was massive.
Up to microwave, so it could have been a microwave.
Okay.
But it wasn't the size of a bus, we almost certainly can say. And when you see a normal shooting star in the sky, one that you can just see on a dark night, that's about the size of a grain of sand. But typically 100, 200 miles away from you. So if you can see a grain of sand burning up at 100 miles distance, then an object the size of a piece of fruit up to microwave, that produces a fireball that can light up both islands like daylight for a few seconds.
So shooting stars are also material interacting with our environment, our atmosphere.
In fact, the definition of a fireball is simply that it's a bigger shooting star, meteor to give them their correct name, and that they're brighter than anything in the sky. And the brightest thing we can get in the sky is the planet Venus, which is currently not actually visible.
Yeah, well, this thing was like a disco. It was lighting up not just the sky, but people sort of reported it feeling brighter. Then how come more of our satellites and stuff, and not our satellites, but Elon Musk's satellites and whatever other items up there we don't know about, how come more of them then aren't taken out by these items? Because even like the grains of sands or the size of a grape, they're traveling at such speed to impact something that is, not moving at the same speed in the same direction. You'd imagine the collision would be catastrophic. Why don't we lose more stuff in our orbit then, with the amount of activity we have like this?
Well, I suppose there's probably two reasons. One is these objects are very expensive, so they're usually well controlled. But the other reason is that there aren't that many of them compared to all the shooting stars that are going to burn up in the atmosphere. And people have to be very careful these days. There's talks of international laws being developed to cover space debris. The Chinese and the Russians, even the Americans, have done some deliberate collisions in space that people aren't very happy with. And the low Earth orbit, just above the atmosphere, is actually getting quite cluttered. And if your satellite costs hundreds of millions of dollars, you don't want a piece of metal that fell off a rocket colliding with it at 17,000 miles an hour, the typical speeds, and destroying it. So people need to be careful. So sometimes rockets are launched and the rocket casing is designed to burn up in the atmosphere, but usually over big uninhabited expanses like the Pacific Ocean. Occasionally things go wrong and they burn up over populated areas. The Chinese did this recently, and they didn't plan where the object was going to come down at all, citing that the chance of anyone getting hit is 10,000 to 1. This isn't the kind of chances you want to play with human lives that I would have thought. So there's big debate in the industry over that.
All right, stay there a second. I want to get an eyewitness report from Anne Meehan. Hi, Anne.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So tell us what you saw and how you saw it.
I was home around 9:30 and I went out to my car to get something, and I just happened to turn around and see this light in the sky, and I thought it was a shooting star first of all, and then I realised that's massive, because I've seen shooting stars before, but they're little tiny things in the distance, but this seemed really close and really, really big, and it was like a ball of fire going through the sky, and it was kind of illuminating everything around it. You could see all the clouds, which I thought was really unusual. But for me, it only lasted about 3 to 4 seconds. It was traveling from my right to my left, and at the end of it, it kind of disappeared, and I thought, God, there must be a very thick cloud over there or something. And then I saw this big flash, but I didn't hear anything. So I just saw this big flash, and I thought, gosh, did that just explode or something in the sky, or has it hit something? Because it was kind of heading out towards the Atlantic. And I thought, I hope that actually lands in the Atlantic and not on land,
What did you think it was, Anne?
When I saw it initially, I thought it was a shooting star, but then I realised it was too big. So I thought it was either a comet or a meteor or something. But it was I didn't see it green at all now. I saw it kind of very kind of white illumination coming from it. Right. But at the back of it, there was a trail of red-orange light.
Okay, excellent stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're very lucky to have seen it, apparently, Anne. I would have been absolutely scared stiff. Everyone around here is so calm. I would have thinking, right, as things escalated, or you know what I mean. But anyway, you are all so calm. Well done, Anne. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Goodbye.
Take care. Good to chat to you. So, David, Anne didn't hear a bang. But a lot of people that were on to me last night, because we started having a bit of a convo then about it on Facebook, and hundreds of people obviously seen it, and many, many commented. And lots of people had went indoors, right, and said to their loved ones that, you know what I've just seen, and they were saying, are you losing your marbles altogether? So they were delighted to see that other people had seen it. But what likely is the bang noise that people heard? That's not hitting the Earth. I presume it's to do with its interaction with the speed of sound or something like that, is it?
Yeah, it's the sonic boom of the object when it gets into the atmosphere. And if you see the meteor and you hear the bang at the same time, it's probably not a meteor, or the bangs come from something else, because it takes a long time for sound to get to us compared to light. So you'll have this with lightning, flashes of lightning. You'll see the flash in the sky, and a few seconds later you hear the rumble of the thunder. it takes sound about 5 seconds to travel 1 mile. And I said this object, it can be seen for up to 1,000 miles away. Well, if it's overhead, it's probably only 10 or 20 miles up. So add the 5 seconds on times that, 50 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, you'll hear the sound then. So people did mostly seem to report hearing the sound afterwards, which confirms it's a fireball, a meteor in the sky.
And obviously, we like when you think about it, people say, well, I spotted it in Donegal, and then someone says, I spotted it in Newcastle. They were looking at it at the same time, weren't they? How long might have this been burning up in the atmosphere? Because in my head, in my straight, linear way of thinking, I just imagined it travelling across the north of Ireland, across the north of Britain, and maybe into continental Europe. But really, for the short period of time it was in the air, everyone was seeing it at the same time then, because it's so high up. Is that correct?
Yeah, the light travels 186,000 miles a second. So in even 100th of a second, it's going to travel 1,800 miles, which is bigger than Ireland and Britain. So everyone saw it at the same time, no doubt about that. We think the trajectory is probably that it came up the Irish Sea, across either the east coast of Ireland, west coast of England, and most of the end points seem to be certainly north of this island and maybe just off the west coast of Scotland. But eyewitness accounts are very tricky. People don't know the directions exactly. You look at the maps that have been plotted so far, they're all over the place, but there is a focus. But where we thought it was really, let's say, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Irish Sea.
Right. Two more short questions then, if that's okay. If this were a meteor and it landed in my backyard garden, is that possible? What size might it have been, or would it all have burnt up? And if some of it remained, how big might it be, and what might it be worth?
Well, there is a possibility that some part of it would have survived, whether it's man-made or natural. And if it does land on your property, you're in for a bit of a windfall, because the last time we had a fire, we probably have a fireball report like this about every year on average. And remember, some nights are totally cloudy, and of course some of them will happen in broad daylight. So meteorites are probably raining down on this island, let's say, once or twice a year, but nobody ever notices. But in 1999, a massive fireball was seen, much faster, more straight down than parallel to the ground, and the meteorite was found in County Carlow, near a place called Loughlin Bridge. And a collector offered a reward and was later selling pieces of it on his website for 10 times the price of gold. So they can be quite valuable, especially Irish ones, which are very rare, and there are a lot of collectors that want an Irish one in their collection. They're not super valuable, they're not made of gold or diamonds or anything like that. It's just what collectors are prepared to pay for them.
Will we ever find out if this were, man-made or an actual, meteor?
Oh yes, I think we will. I mean, it's early days yet. It happened 10 o'clock last night. Everybody should have been out trying to watch the planet Uranus going behind the moon, which is what we were alerting people to. That was at 10:30. And you mentioned Elon Musk. He was launching a bunch of satellites in the wee hours of this morning. I believe that launch got scrubbed, probably going to go ahead tonight, in the hope of seeing those passing over Ireland. We just didn't expect this fireball. So, of course, a lot of the researchers have been asleep and have woken up to this in the morning and are busy poring over all those satellite reports. It's not something I do myself, so we're waiting for them to report back to us. But my money certainly would be that it was man-made, given the speed and how long it lasted for, and the colours. But it could have been natural. If it was man-made, we should know who launched it, what it was originally aimed to do. It was a piece of a rocket that helped throw the satellite up into the atmosphere. It was an actual satellite itself that came down at the end of its life. So it's going to be an interesting next few days when we get the full story, which we'll have in Astronomy Ireland magazine.
That's it, Astronomy Ireland magazine, and you and people who are fascinated by space would say you can look up and see loads of stuff like this. Maybe not quite as dramatic and quite as bright, but I presume if you're lucky enough to have clear skies, there's always something going on in space. So if there's young people or people not so young that maybe this has triggered an interest, that we're not just we are part of a bigger thing here, you'd encourage them along to your website, I'm sure, David.
Absolutely. Just search for Astronomy Ireland. You have no problem finding us. We're looking for new members all the time. Special offer on the magazine at the moment. When you get to the website, there you get 3 extra magazines for free. And it'll tell you about things we can predict. So, for instance, there's going to be a meteor shower, a reasonable one called the Orionids, in October around the 21st. And there's a partial eclipse of the sun visible from Ireland on October the 25th. Jupiter is blazing in the night sky. I was looking at it in the telescope last night, through the clouds mostly. And we've got Mars coming closest to the Earth in the next few months. Saturn's up there as well. There's always loads of things to see. Usually with the naked eye, maybe with a pair of binoculars, you don't even need a small telescope. There's so much to see. But if you have a telescope, there's even more.
David, thanks so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. Take care of yourself and happy stargazing. And you mentioned the website, didn't you?
Astronomy.ie.
Well done. Thanks so much, David. Take care of yourself. All right, that's David Moore, editor of Astronomy Ireland magazine.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account. The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Years ago, I used to dread my motor insurance renewal. Then a friend told me about O'Malley Scanlon Insurance in Ballybofey and Dunlow. They do all the hard work. They contact all the major insurance underwriters and they get the very best possible quote for me. They have saved me a small fortune over the years and they could do the same for you.
When your insurance comes up for renewal, contact O'Malley Scanlon Insurance at their Ballybofey office on 9131020 or their Dunlow office on 952206. O'Malley Scanlon is regulated by the Central Bank.
The new TFI Young Adult Leap Card is for 19 to 23-year-olds, offering a 50% discount on Transport for Ireland fares, and now also includes many commercial bus operators too. Students who are in full-time education and are over 23 can also avail of these savings with a TFI Student Leap Card. So save 50% on fares with a young adult or student leap card across the Transport for Ireland network and participating commercial bus operators. See leapcard.ie for details and to order yours today.
For all your health and beauty needs, you can always rely on McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If you need a prescription, just call or order online at mcgees.ie and it will be ready for you in advance before you arrive. For beauty and skin care, there's all the big names at great prices in store and online. And for your photo printing needs, simply download the McGee's Photo Prints app or click on the website link. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For all your health and beauty needs and so much more. Call 91-21409 or visit mcgees.ie.
It's Aldi's best value back to school event ever. This week's Super 6 fresh meat and fish offers include Irish pork steak was $4.99, now $4.49. Salmon fillets 4-pack was $6.99, now $6.49. Hand-tied sausages was $2.69, now $2.39. An Irish medium whole chicken was $4.79, now $4.49. Aldi have savings after savings after savings. Just saying.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing. Our bumper magazine has everything you need, including exhibitor listings, site map, event programs, plus directions on how to get there and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
All right, loads of you out there have spotted this thing last night. We appreciate you getting in contact. Patrick Meteor over Trimmer, heading northwesterly. Never seen anything like it. Seen lots of shooting stars before. It was no shooting star. Thanks for that, Patrick. Sitting in Fanet at 10:05, and I heard the bang. Another in Pettigo. Great to have you listening in Pettigo, by the way. I heard it in Pettigo last night, very loud. Another, I saw it in Ardra, travelling roughly east to west and heading out to the Atlantic. And we've had sightings right across the northwest. I think the way it is no matter where you were in Donegal, if you were looking up at the right time and the sky was clear, then you would have seen it. Where is the big bridge that was supposed to go over the River Swilly to alleviate the traffic in Letterkenny? Well, stick your answers on a postcard. Highland Radio, Mountain Top, Letterkenny. Okay. Roadwork delay in Letterkenny. I've been travelling all over Ireland this summer. I've never ever come across a worse entrance to a town than Letterkenny. Even when you get past the roadworks, you are then caught in dense, snail-like traffic. Wonder how many visitors to Letterkenny just give up and turn around or avoid the town completely. But the problem is it's not all about Letterkenny, and that's the point I was trying to make. You know, there are other parts of the county that you access via this road or through Letterkenny, and people, are also going to be frustrated along those lines. All right, then. It is almost time for us to take a break for the news. Just two more comments. Seems all these councillors know about is to show up for a photo. Well, they're plugging away on this issue, I think. Greg, the hold up by the poll store is because it's the same company doing the work around St. Eunice College. Therefore, they don't have enough men. Surely, though, when you get the contract for such a big job, you'd have a deadline to complete your work. What they said November. I'm not sure if they are also working on that other project you mentioned. But anyway, stay with us. We'll be back with loads more in the programme. But let's take a quick break for the news and obituary notices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Concerns are being raised, as you've heard on the show, over potential delays to the 4-lane project in Letterkenny. Works have been ongoing for over a year and have resulted in significant disruption to traffic. It's the main artery into the town. The roadworks were to have been completed by November of this year. At the latest meeting with local councillors, contractors remained confident the project would be delivered within that time frame. The Cathaoirleach of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District, however, Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly, fears that may not be the case. He says more resources need to be deployed to ensure the works are complete as quickly as possible.
Because of the project being so far behind and taking so long, it's not fair in these businesses to suffer any longer. And I think as well, as Donegal County Council as a body should be applying more pressure on the contractors of the 4-lane to get this moving quicker, put more men on the ground and have the work completed sooner rather than later.
Meanwhile, Donegal County Council is being urged to review traffic management in Buncrana. An increase in traffic in the area is said to have had a negative impact on congestion in the town. Councillor Rena Donaghy is calling for a new traffic management plan to be put in place and for works to commence on establishing an inner relief road. She says infrastructure must be upgraded in tandem with Buncrana's growth.
We have the new 3-campus school coming on. We have the new primary care centre, which will be like a mini hospital. And we have the digital hub. We already have 2 secondary schools in Buncrana and a third on the outskirts. It is a very busy town. At peak times, it's absolutely jammed. And we definitely need to look at a plan for the traffic in the area to make the passing a lot quicker.
2 people arrested by police in Derry following the theft of a car in Ballycastle, which was observed heading toward Donegal, are to appear in court today. A 19-year-old woman has been charged with 7 offences, including criminal damage, failing to stop for police, aggravated vehicle taking, causing damage to the vehicle, burglary, theft and driving while unfit through drink or drugs. Meanwhile, a 25-year-old man has been charged with 19 offences, including aggravated vehicle taking, causing damage to the vehicle, dangerous driving, no driving licence, driving without insurance, driving while unfit through drink or drugs, possessing an article with a blade or point in a public place, disorderly behaviour, assault on police and threats to kill. The pair are due before Coleraine magistrates today via video link. The charges are being reviewed by the Public Prosecution Service. There are calls from within Fianna Fáil to allow Bertie Ahern back into the party. A meeting of the Parliamentary Party heard contributions to allow the former Taoiseach rejoin ahead of the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement next year. That's according to the Irish Examiner. Donegal Senator Niall Blaine is reported to have called on the party to act in a spirit of inclusivity in terms of Mr Ahern's contribution in achieving peace. Mr Ahern resigned from the party in 2012 following the Mahon Tribunal. The funeral of 2 children who lost their lives in a car fire in County West Meath last week is taking place this morning. 5-year-old Thelma Denani and her 2-year-old brother Mikey died in a suspicious car fire just outside Multifarnham last Friday. With more, here's Barry White.
Hundreds of mourners gathered at Glennon's funeral home in Longford last night, where the bodies of 5-year-old Thelma and 2-year-old Mikey reposed. Prayers were also held for the 2 children at the funeral home ahead of today's burial service. The funeral takes place this morning at 11 o'clock in St Mel's Cathedral in Longford. Meanwhile, a criminal investigation is continuing. It's understood that the case will be upgraded to a double murder inquiry before the end of this week. The children's mother, Lynn Eager, remains in hospital with non-life-threatening but serious injuries after being pulled from the burning vehicle by a passerby.
Well, the forecast, Anne Mid-Erin tell us today will be largely dry with a fair amount of cloud and sunny intervals. A few isolated light showers, however, are possible. Top temperatures today 14 or 15 degrees Celsius with moderate north to northwest breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, September the 15th. The death has occurred of Sean John Boyle, Mulladuff, Kincashla. Sean's remains will be reposing in McGlynn's funeral home today from 4 o'clock with rosary at 8 o'clock. He will repose at his home in Mulladuff tomorrow morning from 11 o'clock with rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral Mass on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock in the Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, with burial afterwards in the new cemetery. The death has occurred of Eva Peoples, 398 Ardbeath in St Johnston, County Donegal. Eva will be reposing at her late residence, 398 Ardbeath in St Johnston, from 3 o'clock this afternoon and all day tomorrow with rosary at 6 o'clock both evenings. Fiona leaving her late residence on Saturday morning at 10:15, going to St Bathan's Church, St Johnston for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Carl Fisher, Carnador, Castlefin, remains reposing at his residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 for service in Munellen Parish Church at 2 o'clock with burial afterwards in the family plot in the adjoining churchyard. The death has occurred of Ray McCabe, née McElhinney, Letcher Fawn, remains reposing at her late residence. Removal from her home tomorrow morning at 10:30 to St Maur's Church Fawn for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Ray's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desire to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy funeral directors. The death has occurred of Kathleen Ann Hanlon, Bride, Kincashla. Kathleen's remains are reposing at her home from 11 o'clock until 9 o'clock today. Rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in the Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, with interment afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. And the death has occurred of James Murray, 284 Ard McCarran, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at his late residence from 2 until 10 o'clock today. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral. Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Okay, to some of your comments now. I thought county councillors would have an idea what's happening regarding roadworks, especially in their own local area. Am I a bit naive, perhaps? I would have thought they're, given the amount of communications I would presume they would have from constituents, people who are elected them, businesses, that they would have perhaps a clearer understanding of the situation, but maybe they're not communicated with like they should. Greg, trying to manoeuvre around Letterkenny is a disaster. Polestar, St Eunan's College, Sculmora, gone small. Cathedral, sometimes you can hardly take the same route 2 days in a row, which makes it hard to know how long it will take to get anywhere. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. 1 mile of road, it is a joke. 6 million it's costing. They built the dual carriageway in less time. Another, the Bright Sparks that are doing the road forgot to leave an emergency lane for Garda and ambulance. If there's an accident on that road, the whole 2 lanes will be closed. But that was always has been an issue with that road, hasn't it? If there was a serious collision, that entire 4 lanes was shut. At least under the new design, 2 lanes should be able to remain open at all times. Greg, that bit where the cycle path and footpath have come to a stop because it has to go around the banking along the river, which would take it out a good bit. At the minute, there's a path there. I think it's concrete, but it's very narrow. I cycled on it a couple of times, and it would be too narrow to be a final solution. I hope they finish the whole thing as soon. I cycle on that road every day, and the surface on the way in so rough and bumpy all the way into the Polestar. Yeah, I've seen that path, but you see, and as I say, I'm not an engineer. But the road seems to kink around that bank as well. But I'm sure the powers that be will come up with a solution. The bypass bridge that was mentioned, it's been talked about for 15 years. I think it's longer, you know. It's been seriously in the council agenda for 10 years. That's a disgraceful lack of achievement for the town councillors. Would other workers working on the issue for 15 years be still working? I doubt it. Well, in fairness to what the councillors can achieve and can't achieve, like I spoke to the then Transport Minister at the time, whose name will come to me in a moment, and I asked, will funding for this bypass, this Bonagee link, will it be available before 2040? Can you give any, not guarantees or any positive indications? And at that time, Shane Ross said no. He couldn't. No, he never said it wouldn't be funded, but he couldn't give a commitment that it would be began or finished or whatever it might be by 2040, though he recognised, because he'd been well briefed, he recognised that it was the big talking point at that time as it relates to traffic management in Letterkenny. What's going on with the Highland Radio reception these days? Constantly going off. Well, it's a known problem and it should be resolved this morning. And we appreciate your patience. I presume you're contacting us from the Inishowen area. It was a piece of equipment, quite a complex piece of equipment that is failing intermittently. And we are literally changing it this morning almost as we speak. And that will resolve those issues. It's just something that can't be fixed instantly because, as I say, it's a complex piece of equipment and has to be replaced. But it will be replaced today. And hopefully you'll be able to get us there loud and clear. Some popular media bending over backwards, trying to bring Bertie Ahern back, regardless of what the Mahon Tribunal revealed, taking people for fools. The recent Fianna Fáil Junior Minister Robert Troy property revelations doesn't look good either for that party. Have they not learned a lesson? Well, was it the day before yesterday? The leader of the party, Micheál Martin, was on a walk around with Robert Troy as it relates to housing development. So obviously Micheál Martin believes that he has been punished enough. Sad to see Celtic fans shame Ireland and the Republican cause in Warsaw last night with their despicable banners. You can build all the 5-star hotels that you want in this country, but you'll never change the 1-star behaviour of the people here. Now, I am not familiar with what you're talking about. Right, okay. Now, there's something I want to mention here, and it is a coffee morning, which is taking place on Saturday, the 24th of September, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. It is in Maggie's Tavern in Carrickmore, St. Johnston, and it is in aid of the Margaret Lynch Family Support. Now, maybe those of you in the area might know Margaret Lynch is a young lady who has been going through the mill at the moment with her health, and she is currently in hospital and hopefully on the road to recovery and getting out soon, but has been through an awful time. And continues to go through an awful time at this time, but hopefully, as I say, there's light at the end of the tunnel. If you would like to support her and her family, then get along to this coffee morning. It's in Maggie's Tavern in Carrickmore, St. Johnston. And it's on Saturday the 24th, which is Saturday week, at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And any support that you can offer would be greatly appreciated and would be helping out that lady and her family. So if you're in the St. Johnston area, please feel free to be very generous and help your fellow community member out there. Okay, let's take a break for the bingo numbers. Back in a moment.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 15th of September. Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €10,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 37. The jackpot number is 11. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 32, 38, 9, 41, 76, 65, 84, 1, 19, and finally 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Bachelor Boys multi-breed pedigree ram sale takes place this Friday night in Rafo Mart at 7 p.m. 100 top quality rams on offer, including Badgerface, Blue Texel, Charlet, Texel, Suffolks, Beltex, Dutch Spotted, Rouge, Blue-Faced Leicester and Border Leicester. That's this Friday at Rafo Mart.
An important timetable update from TFI Local Link Donegal, Sligo, Leitrim, route 953 Moville to Letterkenny. Great news from Monday, September 19th. TFI Local Link route 953 Moville to Letterkenny will be extended to Greencastle and will now service locations including Kildaff, Glenealy, Greencastle and Bridgend. Operating up to 3 times per day, 7 days a week. The enhanced route will now provide a new peak time service for students and commuters into Letterkenny, arriving for both 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and returning at 5 p.m, as well as improved connectivity to regional bus services for onward travel. For timetables, fares and all route information, see locallinkdsl.ie or call our office on 074 9741 644. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Have you heard about the Regal Room at Eclipse Cinemas, Lifford Strabane? Feel the glitz and the glamour of old-style cinema elegance with a luxurious modern twist. Enjoy a red roomy armchair or love seat, each with its personal footstool. Relax and unwind with a nice glass of wine, some Italian gelato or even a pizza. To find out more about the Regal Room at Eclipse Cinemas, Lifford Strabane, or to book your luxury experience, go to eclipsecinemas.com.
In 2018, Toyota cut through the confusion, completely ceasing production of diesel passenger cars, lowering harmful emissions and providing certainty for Irish drivers everywhere. And Kelly's Toyota are proud to be part of that hybrid electric journey. Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles today to see what makes Toyota Ireland's best-selling car brand in 2021 and 2022. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world. Best-selling claim based on most recent monthly figures.
Tune in to Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio this Friday night with Frank Galligan from 8 till 10 p.m. in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Check out Arena 7 Bowling. 10 state-of-the-art bowling lanes, surround sound, stylish seating and funky lighting. Plus Marty Friel playing party hits every Saturday night. See arena7.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we are going to persist with this story until such time as someone does something about it. We are back on the school buses. Unfortunately, some of the children aren't, though. A particular problem seemingly in getting students from the Clonmany area to Carndonagh Community School. Jennifer Doherty is the mother of a young girl at that school and joins us now. Jennifer, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
Right, yesterday morning, another 8 children left behind.
That's right. That was in the morning, and they had to get the other alternative buses or Clincha buses into the school, and the children were then told that they should get the same buses home. So
when they're given that information, Jennifer, sorry, we don't know, do we, what students might get a lift into school or, might find some other way into school and then might get on that same bus on the way back and then a seat might not be there for the daughter. Right. So when they say to you, when they said to her, get the same bus back, would that possibility not have been in their mind that maybe there won't be a seat there for your daughter?
Well, I suppose that from the children's point of view, they're just doing what they're being told.
Yeah, of course.
They're possibly not exactly thinking, but we as parents are wondering: are they going to get the lift home? Because as Kathleen and Samantha have both previously come on and said, there could be a situation where somebody in the morning has an appointment or is unable to get to school, on the bus for whatever reason, and then they are still entitled to that seat coming home. So it's not, there's nobody's name as such going on the seat. It's just that they're all entitled to a seat, but the seats just aren't all available.
Mm-hmm. Now, we have, in a normal circumstance, when you send, Jennifer, you send your daughter, or any of our listeners send their children to school, that they will get back. We don't have to be at the school to make sure they get on the bus, because we believe that the school or the buses, I don't know, someone else is responsible to, and they're responsible themselves, of course, but someone is there to ensure their safety. Now, your daughter was left standing at the school yesterday because that seat that she got to school on or in wasn't available on the way back. So you got a call then, did you?
I did. Very upset and angry. She had been the only person that was left at the school, and I was actually on a client call to the States, and my phone started blowing up, and I was wondering what the heck was going. You know, why was I being rung at that time? I suddenly realised it was the end of the school day, so I interrupted my client call, and I answered my daughter, and she was distraught because she was the only one left, and she was essentially in an empty playground. There was nobody else there, no other students, no other teachers, and she said she knew that I was working, and how was she going to get home? Now, I obviously, where I could have been in Belfast or Dublin or somewhere else, and I personally wouldn't have, and I would have had to make arrangements for her to be collected. But
yeah, but you're entitled to be able to trust this system because everybody else does.
Exactly.
And another thing too, Jennifer, I know it's a disruption to you at work and all, but just from your daughter's perspective as well, like, it's pretty humiliating. I mean,
It is.
It's humiliating and it's worrying because they're the only person there. But can you imagine all your peers and all on the bus, and you're standing there with your school bag wondering, well, why me?
Yeah.
Especially if a young person.
Well, Greg, I just want to say, my daughter is quite laid back, and
all right, okay.
wouldn't be on a normal day, when everybody's sort of rushing the bus and everything. She wouldn't be one that would, run up to the doors of the bus. She kind of waits till everybody's on, and then, and so because of that, she has been one of the ones that almost every day has been left.
So you're saying to her, get a move on, will you?
Well, it's just not in her nature. But I mean, apart from that, she shouldn't have to rush the bus. Nobody should be. I mean, the scenes.
And if she did rush the bus, it's another child that misses out as well, and maybe she's got that.
Yeah, well, she's telling me, and other mothers are saying that their children are sending videos of the rush for the bus, and it's ridiculous. It's like a rugby scrum, that people are going to get hurt, with the pushing and shoving, and it's not the kids' fault because they're terrified that they're going to be the ones that's left. I mean, there was another situation, Greg, and I want to sort of highlight this, but add a disclaimer to it as well. It wasn't the fault of the bus driver in this situation because he was in a dilemma. But the reason my daughter was left yesterday was probably because of another incident that happened this time last week. So again, my daughter was the last one, and no seat for her. The driver then said, "Oh, right, you're the only one that's not got a seat. Right, you have to sit on the floor of the bus." And she had to endure a really humiliating journey home, sitting on the floor of the bus in her school uniform, with all of her peers around her. And I was very cross when she arrived home and told me that story. Now, I telephoned the owner of the bus company, and I stressed to him that this could not be happening anymore. He was obviously kind of shocked that it had happened, and said that he would speak to his driver. Now, we both agreed, he and I, that I could very easily have been a mammy that angrily phoned him saying, well, why is my daughter being left at the school and she's the only one? Mm-hmm. And the driver is in that dilemma of, I left a child behind. And I mean, a lot of these drivers are parents too, so they're sort of like, damned if they do and
Well,
damned
also,
if they don't.
if an inspector gets on the bus, they could be in bother as well. And
absolutely,
so we get that.
absolutely.
So, is there any logic as to why we do know we need a backup bus, whether it's 6 this morning, 8 yesterday, 9 the day before? Do we know why this bus doesn't just follow the main bus? Because we know it's needed. It's called every day. Someone's waiting on the call. They've got the guarded clearance. The bus is there. We know what's going to happen. Like, how long does it take for this backup bus to come after it's clear that the initial bus is going to be full?
Well, the thing about it is, if there was a coach put on that service, none of this would be happening. There would be no stress for either the kids, the driver, the parents, anybody else. So as far as we as parents are concerned, the fault lies at Bus Éireann's door, and they're the ones that are responsible for ensuring that enough seats are available on a bus of adequate size.
Yeah, all right. Listen, I expect Minister Charlie McConalogue on the programme a little later on, and I look forward to getting his response to this, because it's been going on too long.
I would love you to ask the question, though, Greg. Who is responsible legally for my child when they're left at the school? Is it the school? Is it the bus service? Who is it? Because if anything happens, I'm just going to say ...
Well, you see, the thing is, and I've avoided saying ... right? But I've been thinking about this conversation, and I was thinking if I were in the same boat. There are some really nasty people out there, and some people that might well know that there is a problem in a particular area and that some children could be left behind, right? And wouldn't be hard to get a hold of a van and say, I've just been sent by such and such to...
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, Jennifer, I probably shouldn't have said it, right? But that's what was in my head, that if there was it's not going to happen. But someone knows everything that's going on now, and if they wanted to exploit it, and that is, for me, is why this needs to be sorted as soon as possible. Because somewhere it's happened, and we just have to make sure that the absolute worst case scenario wouldn't happen in our area. Does that make sense? And I'm sorry, I don't want to upset anyone.
No. And look, this is what we as parents are obviously worried about. We've not sort of voiced it as such, but we are thinking these things. Of course we are, because we're, as Kathleen and Samantha both said, we are, as parents, we're wondering, are we the parent that's going to get the phone call, in the evening, oh, Mommy, I've been left at school. And I mean, they're dashing about the playground. If they are, they go up to the bus that they were on in the morning, and they're faced with a scenario, oh, the bus is full. They then have to run to see if one of the other buses can accommodate. And yesterday, all of the other buses had departed by the time that she realised she'd no seat.
Yeah,
so
and
that's why that
we
happened.
have to consider, and I know you are, and I am too, Jennifer, that as great as an inconvenience as it was, you were able to break off that call, and hopefully the person you were on the call with understood, and maybe, I presume, get into a car and go and collect your daughter. The anxiety, if it were me and I didn't have access to a vehicle, or as like the scenario you gave, that you were out away, you would be up to absolute high dough, and maybe actually not even able to get to the school to pick her up, and having to call in favours or something. Right, Jennifer?
Well, this is it. And thankfully that there are people I can call, but I can imagine that there maybe are some people that can't, or that for whatever reason they would be waiting longer.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Jennifer, thanks for helping us keep this story.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm very interested to hear what Minister Charlie McConalogue is your local TD, isn't he? It covers Carndonna. Yeah, well, it's all Donegal. They represent the whole of the county. So, these are the same people and through their offices that can ring hospitals and get people bumped up lists and all manner of stuff.
Why is Norma Foley taking so long to even answer the question. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
All right, Jennifer, hopefully your daughter is one of the lucky ones that gets the bus home this evening. I mean, I can't believe we're even saying stuff like that, but it is the way where we're at. All right, take care.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So that's the story of someone who doesn't know whether their child who is entitled to a seat on a bus will get it in the morning or indeed in the evening. We'll go to another caller who's patiently waiting, and I appreciate it. After this quick break, which we have to take.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
When you hit a certain age, exercise can seem like all pain and no gain. I mean, no one wants to see yours truly wearing lycra. But keeping fit doesn't have to mean getting ripped. Simple things like bringing the dog for a walk,
Come on, boy, come on.
and taking the stairs more often can make a big difference. Work out what works for you. Get more tips at sportireland.ie/workout.
The young bakers are trying to make our Brennan's family pan and Be Good go viral on something called TikTok, says old Mr. Brennan. Viral TikTok, says I. I knew a fella who suffered from that. No way, says he. Ah, yeah, but he didn't make a song and dance about it. Although, says he, one thing worth making noise about is that anything baked is better with Brennan's. Today's bread today.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
SafeTech are running a number of accredited programs this autumn, including basic scaffolding, electro and butt fusion welding, roadworks, plant and machinery, confined spaces, water hygiene for utilities, UK construction cards and more. Funding available on all these programs. T's and C's apply. For all your safety and training needs, visit safetech.ie.
There's never been a better time to go full Lidl. Let's hear it from our customers.
Like, no matter what they want, there's something in the fridge. We discovered stuff that made our dinner special. They'd go, you didn't buy your meat in Lidl this week, did you buy it somewhere else? Yeah. Whereas now there's no point in me going anywhere else. It's Lidl. That's what they want.
Go on, go full Lidl today.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin. Bathroom yard sale starts Thursday the 15th to Saturday the 17th of September. Be quick or you'll miss out on bargains galore. Toilets, vanity units, wet room screens, shower cubicles and more. In-store 15% off all bathware. Remember, 3 days only. Miss it, miss out. Telephone 91 43942.
Imagine a better way to manage your energy with a smart plan from Bord Gosh Energy. Our smart plans, like Free Time Saturday or Free Time Sunday, can help you lower your bills and reduce your energy usage. Find a smart plan that works for you and your home at boardgoshenergy.ie/smart. Free energy units are available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday or Sunday each week with this tariff. Customers can choose Saturday or Sunday. Smart meter required. Terms and conditions apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie.
Okay, so you might remember a number of weeks ago we were speaking to Cheryl, who was given very short notice to move out of accommodation in Letterkenny and moved to Milford, and therefore was outside the portal opening to get a bus space. Cheryl's back on the line with us now. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for holding. You're very good to be so patient. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right, we made contact with Bus Éireann on your behalf, and they said, and I'm paraphrasing or going from memory in the statement, that they were engaging with you directly. Have you had any engagement with Bus Éireann?
Nothing.
Right, I wonder why
Nothing
they
at
said
all.
that.
No email, no phone call, no communication from Bus Éireann since I spoke to you.
Right, okay. Well, we'll have to follow that up because we were told, and I was satisfied, they were engaging with you. Okay, well, we're back talking to you again, and you are settled now in Milford. Your children are in school now in Letterkenny. So we want to get an insight into what your day now actually entails because of you were told by your landlord at very short notice in a housing crisis that you had to move. So this is completely outside of your control, and we would hope that a system would be flexible enough to be able to adapt to a special situation like this. But anyway, it's not seemingly. What is the situation, and what is your average weekday now?
My afternoons.
Yeah.
Well, my mornings aren't actually too bad.
Okay.
I leave home at 8:30. I go drop off my eldest outside Errigal College. So approximately, give or take, around 20 to 9. I then have to shoot around to my other two children's school for
All right, we've seen.
And I head home.
Okay, sorry. The line dropped out there. Sorry, you have to scoot around with your other two children
to Ballyrain.
Okay.
To the primary school, and then from dropping those two off, I then drop off my last one up at St Bernadette.
All right. So, what time then do you get back to Milford if you don't have a few bits to do?
Give or take around 9:20, 20 to 10 in the morning.
Okay.
And then my afternoons actually start, give or take 1:30 in the afternoon, because they have a new parking system and a drop-off system at Ballyrain. So I have two finishing at 2:30. I have my third one finishing at 20 to 3. And then I have my last one at 5 to 4. So I leave home at 1:30 to ensure that I'm outside Ballyrain for approximately 2 o'clock. Because the drive-in system doesn't work for me because cars get blocked in. So I have to ensure that I've got parking so that I can run across. I've actually had to speak to the school to see if I could get my two out at 2:20 when the bus children come out of class. Because by the time my two come out, if they come out at 2:30 on time, for me to shoot from their school up for 20 to 3 to the next school, I actually don't make it in time. And my son, being special needs, has been moaning at me that, Mummy, you're always late. Mummy, why am I the last one to be picked up? So I had to speak to one of the schools to see which one would be flexible in just picking up slightly earlier so that I wasn't running late. So I now pick up the two at 2:20. I then shoot up to St Bernadette to pick up my third. And then we go and sit outside Errigal College, approximately about 10 to 3, until my eldest comes out at 5 to 4.
So there's four of you in the car. Is that correct? There's four of you in the car for 2.5 hours.
Yes.
What doing? Because it's very hard to keep children.
Homework.
Homework in the back of the car.
But homework in the back of the car. Because for me, by the time, I get home and I have to think about, doing dinner. And so we literally, we sit in the car and we wait and we do homework, and I have to do snack packs because my kids are used to finishing school and coming home and they have something to eat, something light to eat before dinner time. But obviously that isn't feasible because I'm not going to be running back and forth. Because by the time I run back to Milford, it's time to go back to Letterkenny.
But also the cost of it as well. I mean, there has to be some sort of a cap and attempt here to you couldn't be back and forwards 2 or 3 times in an afternoon. And it depended on the children and their age or who else is there. Would you even have to bring them back with you again anyway for the later runs? But that's
yes. I mean, for me, they're too young to be at home for me to leave them.
So they're going with you anyway. They're in the car. But I mean, even the most calm kids in the world, 2.5 hours in the back of a car trying to do homework, trying to snack every day. It's an awful end to a tough enough school day, and also for you, Cheryl, because you're here, the ringmaster. You're having to keep everything, keep everything civil.
I have to listen to the kids get on very well, but children bicker. They do have their little fights, and there I am, and I'm kind of so for me, I have to make sure that I have food in the car. And I bring along their tablets and, the Switch and, to try and obviously keep them entertained, because there's only so much that, I can go and walk to, to the Letterkenny Centre. And, again, picking up my eldest at Errigal College, if I'm not parked outside Errigal College by 3:30, there's no parking. We're not allowed to park in the school.
At the end of the
day,
we
have to park in the lay-by.
It's going to be very soon cold, wet and windy and rainy. So, the idea of killing a couple of hours in the afternoon, whatever it is, when it's middling weather and bright and maybe warm, in a couple of months. So that's a nightmare. So you all then get home about 4:30, 4:45, and that's a long day for you, and it's a long day for the young children, isn't it? And this is all, by the way, because the bus system.
They wouldn't be flexible. That they didn't see it as exceptional circumstances, and like I said on the first airing, the gentleman was very abrupt, and he said, I'll have to wait a year. Doing a year of this 5 days a week, it's going to take its toll.
Yeah, but let me go back to the fact that you were at short notice asked to leave your property in Letterkenny. We are in the midst of a housing crisis here. You were able to find somewhere in Milford. You don't know, and I think in our first conversation, someone might say, well, move the children to school in Milford. But in the rental situation, you can't be certain that you're going to be in and around Milford, and you want some continuity for the children as well. So it's not unreasonable, I think. It's not unreasonable. In fact, it's probably the preferred thing to do, is to keep them in their current schools to see how things play out over the next while. Is that
well, Greg, I actually had to keep them in the current schools, because I actually did touch base with the schools here, and there are no vacancies for my children.
Yeah, I know they're very.
So they have to. I have no choice. They have to stay and remain in the schools that they are currently in Letterkenny.
But we were told by Bus Éireann that they were communicating with you directly, and you can say categorically that has not happened.
That has not happened. I've had no communication from Bus Éireann at all. Okay. Which is why Caroline had asked me to please keep her updated. So I thought I would send the email and say, I've had no communication from Bus Éireann at all.
Well, we'll get back to Bus Éireann. We have the reference number, and we'll say that you stated in the press release, because they don't want us interfering. You see, they say that they said they were, unless I'm remembering incorrectly, which I don't think so.
No, they did say. They said that they wanted to resolve this situation. Well, if they're resolving this situation is not actually contacting myself.
Yeah. A contact, we're not saying, they'll put on a limousine bus for you at this point, but they said they were liaising in contact with you. That's not happened. Okay, Cheryl, you know yourself, keep us updated. We're going to make those contacts again to see what's going on. And I really do feel for you, by the way, because I'll tell you why. We were in town. We were in town Tuesday, I think it was, and it was about 3/4 of an hour before Aaron, my middle son, was finished school, right? And I thought it's not worth heading out home and coming back in again. And you know what? I'll tell you, I was like a child myself. I felt so sorry for myself having to kill 45 minutes in the car. And now I feel like a POS. I feel really guilty with what you're going through. It was
just imagine that I'm on the road from 1:30 until literally 4:30. So I'm twiddling my fingers. You know what? If Bus Éireann just turned around and said, you know what, we can fit your eldest on a bus. That would mean that I would finish it.
Yep.
That would mean that at 2:45, when I pick up my son from St. Bernadette, I could shoot on back to Milford. My eldest is old enough. He's 13. So he could get on a bus. And if he was dropped off in Milford, it would make my life a lot easier. It's the waiting around that is having 3 children, 2 young, 1 with special needs, that, for so many hours, it's kind of it gets frustrating.
Well, and I think there has to be a bit of light and shade in a convo sometimes, but I think the fact you're in remarkably good spirits, unless you're not sort of giving me the full emotion of it, because it's an awful lot to ask of anyone, Cheryl, of you, of your children. And as you say, even if we could get the older child sorted,
even the older
get you home to do the homework. It'd get you home to do the homework and have that snack in, because they deserve that too. All right, Cheryl, listen. We committed to you. We're not going to let it go either. We're going to keep trying to plug away on your behalf. And thank you for giving us that update and giving us an insight into the reality of what these decisions mean to an entire family. You know.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Greg.
I'd love to.
Thank
Take
you.
Care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, back after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie. Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
At Creasla Supermarket, we pride ourselves in offering you all your dairy essentials in one place, with great offers and choice in our deli, butcher's counter and across our large range of fresh produce, with opening hours to suit. Your nearby store, Creasla Supermarket, is your one-stop shop for convenience.
Hear that? That's the sound of you saving. When you drive an electric vehicle, you're helping save our beautiful planet. And you're saving yourself not having to pay ever-increasing fuel prices. Find out more about what you could save at fasterevcharge.com. Save today and tomorrow. This project has been supported by the European Union's Interreg 5A programme.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing. Our bumper magazine has everything you need, including exhibitor listings, site map, event programs, plus directions on how to get there and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
All new weekends at Warehouse Bar and Kitchen. Bottomless brunch every Saturday and Sunday at Warehouse, only €25.
Every Sunday it's date or mate night with 2 main courses for €25.
Cocktail promotions and live music from 8 p.m. Warehouse Bar and Kitchen, Main Street, Letterkenny. Book your table now.
Nutrius Winter Beef Feed offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Super Beef Gold ATP or Nutrius Max Maize Mix, get one free. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Okay, a caller says the bus driver did his best in a bad situation. This is as it relates to Jennifer's story. Should he have left her on the side of the road? I'd be thankful my child got on the bus at all. And Jennifer did say that she had no issue with the bus driver. I got my electricity bill recently. There was €31.34 standing charge, €8.60 PSO levy, and 34% VAT. That is a total of €73 before my usage is considered. The bigger my bill is, the more the government will gain from my usage. I don't understand how a standing charge can even be legal. Well, wait and see what happens, maybe. I'm from Ahayarn, and I seen that fireball last night. It was going into the Ballybofey direction. It was so bright, it lit the road up. It was travelling quite fast. About 5 minutes later, I heard the very loud bang. There are 2 lanes of traffic now at the new bridge with no footpath. The area needs traffic lights immediately. It's definitely an accident waiting to happen. Are there any plans for a pedestrian crossing at the Clannery Hotel across to the Dry Arch complex? It's very dangerous for people who are trying to cross the road there. What is in the plans? I think it is... There was talk of a bridge there and a crossing. It's been recognised that is dangerous, and I think there was at least some provision in there for a crossing. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the final outcome of that was, but if someone out there knows, let me know. Sounds to me at this rate they'll soon be putting children on the roof of the bus. Health and safety's gone mad. We used to sit 3 to a seat and loads of others standing, and it was never an issue. It was just common practice. Yeah, indeed. It was in a newspaper that there was meant to be a boardwalk put in at the river. Is that going ahead? Was that the river walk? I think maybe that was aspirational. I'm not sure if it was ever... I'm not sure if it was part of this 4 lanes. It doesn't sound like it a boardwalk. It wouldn't make... I don't think that would be... I've never heard of it anyway. Okay, so proposals to scrap parts of the wind section of the Donegal development plan to allow for wind farm development in sensitive areas around the county has generated shock and anger from the public and environmental groups here, as you can imagine. Joseph Brennan is a person with views on this. Joseph, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing okay. What do you think of this news that Minister Peter Burke intends directing the council to allow turbines within, for instance, the zone of visual influence at Glenveigh and also in an EHSA designated areas?
I think it's an absolute disgrace. And I think it's an affront to the whole public consultation process and an attack on the members of Donegal County Council and their executive, in that the Donegal County Council have spent 3 years getting round to amending wind energy policies following an attack by a private developer back 3 years ago, the developer of Mean Bog, which wasn't...
We'll just be a wee bit careful with our language, if that's all right, Joseph, and just stay on the...
Agreed.
Not the opinion stuff. I don't know what you referenced there, but as far as I'm aware, there's very few wind farms, if any, that have been built without going through all the proper channels and planning permissions, etc., even if we have an issue with them. So talk to me about these proposals from Minister Burke, then, that you do not like.
Well, again, it's quite clearly what I said, an attack on Donegal County Council, and a variation, in other words, a variation of the county development plan that the council have enacted. In other words, to look at the whole issue of turbines in the county, how many we have, where they are, where they should be, and set out policies going forward. That process has been ongoing in the county since last November, and finally in July the council put forward what all councillors, the vast majority, and certainly the public, supported very strongly, because they were well thought out. There was 8 months went into the thinking out of them, and some of the things you mentioned there, that the council would say that to wind farm developers that we don't want turbines within the zone of influence of Glenveigh National Park. Mind you, that was something that was always there in history anyway. Over the last, well, at least over the last... It's not very
democratic, is it, this intervention? I mean, we elect a council, we elect councillors, we make our representations to councillors. They make their, they make their views known. The executive then adopts that. That's democracy. This is a national interference in local democracy. What is the functional purpose of a council if a minister doesn't like a decision and decides to intervene?
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, if it was a case of something that depended on an actual vote and an actual cast, but when you have 100% of the people who subscribed, who submitted, the public who submitted to the Donegal, who sent in their views to Donegal County Council back in April, May, saying that we favour the variation, like 100% of the 300 plus submissions, and that's a vast number. Council are not used to getting any submissions on the public consultation process, maybe 2 or 3 from very, very interested groups, but in that instance they got over 300 members of the public responding saying, we agree with you, we don't want turbines in Glenveigh, we don't want turbines in Nigibarra, we don't want turbines in the extremely high scenic amenity areas, we don't want turbines in the freshwater parent mussel areas, and we don't want turbines in Johns Point. Now, they're very limited parts of the county, and that was also supported very strongly by the councillors. We also set a barrier that turbines would be 10 times their tip height from homes. That is a saga that's gone on in this county since 2016, when we tried to put it in, or when it was first put in by variation, and when it was also challenged by ministerial direction by 2 different governments, by 2 different ministers. We were a change of government in 2016, so Alan Kelly challenged it first, and then Simon Coveney challenged it. The council said that they weren't going to fight it. Councillor John Campbell, the then Councillor John Campbell, said he would fight it, and he won on both occasions in the High Court, where he overturned the minister's intention to scrap 10 times tip height. So we had 10 times tip height from 2016 right up until the present day, you could say, barring the lapse in policy, and that it was not written into it following the Plan Re, the Mean Bog challenge against the County Development Mandates. Mean Bog, Michael Murnane and Plan Re, as a matter of fact, challenged Donegal County Council and said, I don't want 10 times tip height in your county development plan because it's interfering with my plans for phase 2 of the Mean Bog wind farm development, which would have been way down behind Killygordon and on down behind Susloch and in those areas. He succeeded in that. But what he didn't succeed in was phase 1 of Mean Bog, because a bog slide happened and it wiped it away. Now, the councillors, particularly in where we all supported, right across the county, but particularly councillors in the Finn Valley area, moved also in this variation to mark all areas of landslide susceptibility as defined by the Environmental Protection Agency. Mark them as not suitable
I
for
get
wind
that,
farms.
Joseph.
And the minister says, no, they are suitable.
I know, I get that, and it's very technical, and you know, I think the
It is,
majority of us out here, you know, we have a, you know, we don't have not necessarily a full understanding of the technical elements of what you're talking about here, but what we do know is, and this is what confuses me, is Minister Ryan on this programme said that he doesn't envisage any more wind farms in this county. He believes that we'd reached capacity. But B, all the talk has been in terms of offshore wind development. So taking those two things into consideration then, why is the government taking such an interest then in the provision of onshore wind farms, particularly in sensitive areas? Why this intervention? What I'm trying to get at here is, did Minister Burke open up a map himself and say we can put more there? Or who is he acting on behalf of? Who is providing his information?
A really good question, and I can answer that. Well, a really good question. He's acting on the advices of the newly fledged or newly founded, I think maybe 2019, the newly appointed Office of the Planning Regulator, the OPR. And now we have a planning regulator and an office who looks at how county development plans are constructed and where developments can be that maybe a school or a new housing estate on the edge of the town or something like that. There are these areas zoned, etc., etc., etc. So the Office of the Planning Regulator, Mr. Knight Customs at the head of that office, he formed it and has named this to the advices to council. It is he that advised the minister, you should do this. Sadly, you know, that gentleman has history with Donegal in that he also was the head of the Department of Environment and Planning, or I'm paraphrasing that name, back in 2016.
Well, listen, again, we're getting into stuff that's a little bit technical, Joseph, and I'm not trying to... I'm not in any way trying to censor you, okay? But I have to be able to... No, Joseph, let me explain. When we're talking about individuals, okay, and we're talking about their history, and you have a very intimate knowledge of this, okay, but I'm responsible that whatever is said is 100% accurate. And just when we're getting into individuals and their background and the history, it's not something I can personally stand over. And I'm not trying to in any way censor you, Joseph, but I hope you understand that we're on we are confined by very strict rules in that regard. Stay with me. Councillor Gary Doherty, a democratically elected member of Donegal County Council, charged with coming up with this development plan. What is your feelings on this potential intervention from Minister Peter Burke?
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Look, unfortunately, I have to agree with most of what Joseph has been saying this morning about this ministerial directive. I am honestly feeling dejected and angry since we received this letter from the minister a couple of weeks ago, because I feel that it's riding roughshod over the opinions and views of the people of Donegal, who we as democratically elected members of Donegal County Council are representing. It's ignoring all the evidence that we use to formulate the variation to the development plan about landslide susceptibility, about suitability of grounds and lands for wind farms, and it's calling into question the whole process of a county development plan and what it means for counties, because essentially what it's showing is that the whole process is pointless, because no matter what we do in Donegal, we have an OPR or a minister or a department who'll just come in and ignore everything that we tell them and just do whatever the hell they want. I'm just apoplectic with rage at the moment, Greg, that this is happening to us again.
Well, what is
when
next,
we talk
then?
about
what's next, Gary? I mean,
well,
can it be resisted, really,
to
is
be
what I'm
honest,
asking?
I think we need to resist it, because, to be honest with you, Greg, I think this is a national scandal. If we bring ourselves back to 2 years ago in November 2020 and look at what happened at Mean Bog with the landslide that you yourself covered widely on this programme, we know the environmental and ecological disaster that occurred up in Mean Bog, and we're still dealing with the outruns of that. We're still dealing with the environmental effects of that. And if we break this down, Greg, and remember what exactly happened after that. So we had experts before the Mean Bog planning permission was granted by the An Bord Pleanála, experts who were experts in the field of landslides and bog slides warned that building a wind farm of industrial scale on land like that was very dangerous and would likely cause a bog slide such as this. They were ignored and planning permission was given. We then had the bog slide or the landslide that they predicted. And as a result of that, we, the elected members of Donegal County Council, decided to rezone that area so that any areas that were deemed susceptible to landslides, we decided, look, we're not going to allow any wind farms in those lands, which is perfectly sensible. The OPR and the Minister have come back to us now and said, no, do you know what? That's wrong. You should allow wind farms in those areas.
Councillor,
that's just madness.
Yep. Now, we'll return to this. This was just our first reference of it, but we will be returning to it. But we have to take a break for the news. Councillor Gary Doherty, thanks for your time this morning. Joseph, listen, thanks for your insight as well. And as I say, we will be returning to this in the not too distant future. This is just our.
We only have a week, Gary. Or Greg.
No problem. Yeah,
we only have a week. We only have a week. The public consultations over next Thursday. So try and come back to it in the interim.
Of course. Okay, it is 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update and welcome back onto the programme, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There are calls from within Fianna Fáil to allow Bertie Ahern back into the party. A meeting of the Parliamentary Party heard contributions to allow the former Taoiseach to rejoin ahead of the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement next year, according to the Irish Examiner. Donegal Senator Niall Blaney is reported to have called on the party to act in a spirit of inclusivity in terms of Mr Ahern's contribution in achieving peace. The Taoiseach says the government won't allow businesses they supported through COVID to fail now. Many small and medium enterprises are facing energy bills 3 times larger than this time last year. A package of grants and low-cost loans is being finalised for budget day in less than 2 weeks. There appears to be no end to the school transport issue in Donegal. 8 children were once again denied a place on a bus on the Clonmany to Carndonagh route yesterday and were told to find an alternative bus. Jennifer Doherty's daughter secured a place on another bus, but at the end of the school day was left stranded. Concerns continue to be raised over potential delays to the 4-lane project in Letterkenny. Works have been ongoing for months now and have resulted in much disruption to traffic, with it being the main artery into the town. The roadworks were due to be complete by November this year. At the latest meeting with local councillors, contractors remain confident the project would be delivered within the time frame. Inishowen is dealing with yet another burst water main. Repairs to the burst water main may cause supply disruptions in the Teeveban, Tubin and surrounding areas. Donegal County Council is being urged to review traffic management in Buncrana. An increase in traffic in the area is said to have had a negative impact on congestion in the town. And a 14-year-old boy has been charged following the theft of a van in Derry yesterday morning. The teenager will appear before Derry Youth Court on October the 4th in connection with offences including aggravated vehicle taking, causing damage to the vehicle and burglary. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thank you very much indeed. And we'll be back with more after we take this break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102 127.
The Personal Injuries Assessment Board is Ireland's impartial state body for assessing personal injuries. Did you know that we use the exact same personal injuries guidelines as the courts to calculate compensation? But our process is less stressful, years faster, and far, far cheaper. Same compensation guidelines, lower costs, faster resolution. For a less painful way to resolve your personal injury claim, visit piab.ie.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm planning on studying construction management in ATU Donegal this September.
I'm Shannon, and I studied business.
If you want to follow in our footsteps and study in ATU Donegal, check out Available Places, which is now open on the CAO website.
It's not too late to choose ATU Donegal. The future is here. For more information, visit lyit.ie.
If you need advice on what's best for coughs or colds, or what's best for sore throats or flu, just ask at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. If you need advice on the best vitamins and tonics to put a pep in your step, just ask at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Whether it's about backaches, headaches or tummy aches, your Brennan's Pharmacy team can help. If you need advice from someone you trust, we're here for you at your local Brennan's Pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslough.
Dinosaur Day live at Letterkenny Shopping Centre this Saturday. A free giant day out for all the family. Join Terry Triceratops, Vinny Velociraptor and Trixie the Giant T-Rex for all the dinosaur must fun. Meet and greet sessions at noon, 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. See letterkennysc.com.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing. Our bumper magazine has everything you need, including exhibitor listings, site map, event programs, plus directions on how to get there and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
It's the quarter-final weekend in the Donegal Senior Club Championship, and you can follow the action here on Highland Radio. Our feature game on Sunday comes from the O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny as Naomh Conaill take on Glen Swilly. The other last 8 encounters are on Saturday, and we'll have coverage from the games between Killybegs and Kilcar, Airua and Gweedore, and St Michael's against St Eunan's. Highlands Championship coverage is brought to you by Highland Motors Letterkenny, your main Renault and Dacia dealer in Donegal, with the iconic Dacia Duster, the family SUV for all your adventures. Available in diesel and petrol from just €200 per month. Pending terms and conditions apply. See Renault.ie.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by the Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Charlie McConnell-Logue. A very good morning to you, Minister. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. Okay, listen, I must start with an issue that's been dominating since the start of the school year. This was this decision by your colleague, Norma Foley, to introduce free public transport for school children, seemingly without maybe fully considering all the consequences. And now we have children being left on the side of the road, not just in Clonmany, elsewhere as well, but we've been focusing on the situation in Clonmany, and students then also being left on their own at the schools in the evening. For some reason, buses can turn up to take these children left behind. There's a process that's put in place there. But what the parents want is a coach put on this route, and it would avoid this type of thing happening. Why can't someone like you, in the position that you are, exercise your influence to put this to bed once and for all?
Yeah, well, that is what I'm doing, Greg. Obviously, there's been challenges since the start of the school year in relation to different parts of the county because of the disruption due to the increased demand for school bus tickets. And that has led to a challenging situation for many families. A small number of families in the context of the overall, but really challenging for those affected. And it's something that I've been engaged with those families on, and I obviously been working with them on, and I've been engaged with Minister Foley on as well in relation to try and resolve it. I am hopeful that we will resolve over the time ahead many of those outstanding issues. Bus Éireann have worked hard to try and address the issues so far, and some of them have been resolved. Obviously, one of the key outstanding issues and the most difficult one at the moment is Clonmany.
But there are also there's also a group of Ukrainian children that can't access that school because there's no bus to pick them up. It's not just Clonmany, there are other issues. When you say Bus Éireann have been working hard, what have they been doing?
There's issues across the county. So obviously, in relation to trying to provide capacity for students and for the additional students and demand that is there, Bus Éireann have been working to try and resolve that. In relation to Clonmany, an extra bus has been requested, and I'm hopeful that we will get an outcome on that very, very soon. I've been engaged with Minister Foley on it to try and ensure that that decision is made very quickly. I think that is what would address the challenge that's there, and that request has been made. But also then in relation to the number of students that in different parts, which I'm very much aware of, I've been engaging with Minister Foley in terms of assessing whether we can have additional leeway that might actually help to resolve those. So that's being considered by Minister Foley now.
Does she admit now that, or do you even feel that she made a mistake, that before such a decision was made, that some thought should have gone into it? Maybe talk to people on the ground to see what the demand might be, how many buses might be required, all before the tendering process went out, or perhaps even maybe help parents in different ways with the likes of, school uniforms, book rental schemes, voluntary contributions. This was ill thought out, wasn't it? There was better ways to help parents. And Minister Foley has announced a scheme that actually has created problems rather than resolving them for some students at least.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good way to help parents, because for parents who are paying, bus fees every year, going back to school, and particularly for people with kids, that's a real challenge, and for people who are finding it hard, maybe working hard and finding it hard to make ends meet, that school bus charge at the start of the year is a real difficult one. And in terms of the cost for living challenges that are there this year, the government over the course of the past year have been working to try and bring in measures which actually would ease the pressure on families. So that is one of the measures which I think has for students who avail of school buses made a real difference in relation to those costs. Mm-hmm. Because for a family with 2 students going to post-primary up until this year, the cost would have been €650 per year to that family, which is a massive charge at the start of September. And also then for a family, say, with 2 students going to primary school, that could be an additional €220. So the decision by Minister Foley has made a real difference to those families. And for all of those students and families who are on buses at the moment, it is very, very welcome indeed.
And in fairness, you're correct, because the majority will be pleased with this. And when you're happy with something, you don't ring a programme like this one and make a complaint. So I accept that, excuse me, for the majority of parents with school-going children listening, this has been very, very welcome and has left money in their pockets. To be fair to Minister Foley and the government, it's just that, obviously we also have to be considerate of the few that are in a dangerous situation being left on the side of the road or being left behind at school. And I just can't understand, Charlie, how we can get a bus together to pick them up after the main bus has passed, when if we had just a little bit of flexibility, a bit of common sense, and put the children first, no one should be left standing on the side of the road or should be left standing at school.
We're trying to identify and apply that and get a situation where we can apply that flexibility and that common sense. Obviously, it has been quite a challenging situation over the last couple of weeks where the family is concerned, but also for the administrators of the school bus system and operation and bus air in relation to trying to deal with the increased demand and disruption that is there. Because what we've seen is, last year we had about 103,000 pupils avail of public or school transport across the country. This year now that is 124,000. So that's a significant amount of additional demand. It's a significant amount on a very welcome basis of students being able to avail of buses and buses without a charge, and that's very beneficial. But it has led to a real logistical challenge. And when you make a step change like that, which is making a significant improvement really in the situation in relation to the amount of people that can avail of school transport, it does lead to disruption as well.
Of course it does, but a lot of this stuff we knew was coming down the line, Charlie, and a lot of this stuff with better communication through the summer as it relates to the opening and closing of the portal and whether or not people should go back into the portal after they've been into the portal at a previous point, what the status is of concessionary tickets, because a lot of people thought, right, okay, well, I'll be able to get the bus now and my child won't be treated as a concessionary person, but they are really in bother because there's more eligible children, and that puts the concessionary students even further back down the line. So, as I say, the majority have been looked after, and that is great, but this did, if there was better thinking and better communication, a lot of the problems that we're having and a lot of these conversations, Charlie, could have been avoided. We could have avoided this because we should have known what was coming.
And we want to try and resolve those issues that are there. Like, as you know, Greg, every September there's always challenges around the concessionary aspect, because where a bus is oversubscribed, there isn't a guarantee for concessionary students that they'll get a ticket. And every year I'm dealing with a number of particular routes where there isn't enough spaces for buses. But the significant increase then in demand this year, it has led to a significant number of buses, first of all, because obviously there's 124,000 students being transported now compared to 103,000 last year. But also it has led to a lot more disruption than what we'd normally see, and it has led to people being disruption in routes where there wouldn't necessarily been disruption in the past. Indeed, some routes where there might have been disruption in the past aren't experiencing the same disruption this year because there might be a larger bus on now. But there is issues in other areas where there wouldn't have been before. And the key thing now is trying to work through those. I know it has been challenging for the families, it's been challenging for Bus Éireann, but I've been liaising with Minister Foley, and she's very much aware of it. And I hope that we can try over the next very short period of time.
Why did she refuse to attend the Oireachtas committee on this issue?
I'm not even aware of that.
Okay, well, if you're not aware of it, I won't.
But I know Minister Foley was. I know she was in the Shannon for a long time yesterday, answering questions.
Right.
So
okay.
I'm not.
Well, I'll pursue that if
I know she's working really hard, and listen, in relation to Kilmany in particular, which is the most acute situation at the moment. There is an additional bus being requested there.
When will that be delivered, Minister? I mean, you're in a very senior position here.
Yeah.
When will you deliver that bus?
We can get an answer on that now very quickly, and I've been liaising with Minister Foley on it. So I hope very, very quickly, Greg, and that's what's required there to address the situation, to ensure that there is enough seats for the students going to school.
Okay, and again, I want to acknowledge that the majority of people, there is money in the pocket that wouldn't be there previously, and the majority of people are happy, but we can't ignore those that aren't because of that now.
No, certainly not. And it has made a big difference.
Yeah, I get that.
There's a real pressure time, and it's alongside as well increases in relation to the back to school allowance, again to try and provide support to families. But undoubtedly, it has led to some disruption for students, and we want to try and resolve those issues.
You've been accused by fishermen of your department has not drawing down on a European fund. The money is there. Others have drawn down on this fund that can be given to fishermen in this country to assist them with the cost of fuel. You've been accused of simply ignoring this fund, and it means that fishermen and fishers, they can't go out to fish in certain cases, or if they do, their profit margins, the margins are so tight that in some cases they're losing money. What do you say to that charge?
Yeah, well, what I'd say is I certainly haven't been ignoring this issue. Absolutely not. I've been very aware of it, and I indeed have been very responsive to it as well, Greg. I have introduced support to support fishers through the challenges that's there, particularly from the cost of fuel. The measure that I've introduced to do that is one that I've introduced at the request of fisher representatives themselves, which is a temporary tie-up scheme to support vessels to make it more viable to go to sea.
But I understand that, and we'll get back to that. But just this, are you familiar with this EU fund?
Very much so.
Right now, why have we not applied to that?
So because I have put in place a measure, a separate measure, which is designed to actually support fishers in relation to
but
the
one is
cost
them being paid not to fish. The other, if they choose to fish, will support them to do so. Are you saying that you think these two schemes contradict each other?
No, they don't contradict. No, they don't. Because first of all, we are fishing all of our quota this year. So our quota is being fished every month.
Understood.
And will be fished between now and the end of the year, okay? The way the temporary tie-up scheme works, and I've introduced this in response to requests to the fishers themselves. They approached me because after the Ukrainian invasion, because of the real pressures there from fuel, and they asked me to introduce a second tie-up month this year.
I understand that, Minister, but just to get back, there are those, you can come back to that if you wish, but there are those who are out fishing to catch that quota, right? There is a fund in Europe that would offset some of their input costs. In other words, that it would make it more profitable for them to go and catch the quota that we're allowed to catch. Why have you not applied to this scheme for this funding that would make it financially more beneficial for them to do so? You can get back to the tie-up scheme. I understand that, right? But can you tell me clearly why you've not applied to this scheme that would make those who are out, who would make it more profitable for those that are out fishing to do so?
Yeah, I haven't applied to it yet. I'm monitoring the situation closely to see if I should do so, and I'm monitoring it very, very closely. So, and I'm also monitoring how the tie-up scheme, which I have introduced, is working. So the other thing that's
but Minister, with all due respect to you, Minister, that's not really an answer. Here's the monitor. I am thick, and I'll admit that, right? But if there's money in Europe, okay, that would make it more profitable for fishermen and fishers who are out fishing to do so, in other words, it would offset some of their fuel costs. What is there to monitor? Why aren't you applying to this scheme? There must be another reason beyond you monitoring. What is that reason?
Yeah, well, the reason is because This is a fund, and there has been flexibility given in relation to how we use our maritime fund that is available to us from Europe. But it is a fund which we had planned to use for other investments in the fisheries sector. So if we were to draw it down now as a pure cash payment, it wouldn't be available for other supports which I'd like to deliver to fishers as well.
So it's not specific then to offset fuel costs?
It's not a specific fund that's for fuel costs, which we can draw down and that we're leaving behind. Absolutely not.
So are you using this money Are you using this money, Charlie? Just to be completely clear, if the truth be told, are you using this money then to draw down to fund future tie-up schemes?
No, it's various different investments in the fishing sector.
Is that part of it? Will some of this money be used to fund the tie-up schemes?
No, it won't be used for a future tie-up. No, I have accessed separate funding to actually fund the tie-up, and I've accessed that separate funding so that I'm not using future funding, which is really important to the fishing industry, to pay out in cash now.
So what are you going to use this money that some fishers want to offset their fuel costs? What are you going to draw that fund down and spend it on? If you've drawn nothing from it yet, no?
Yeah.
You've drawn nothing
we've
from
drawn
it.
Significant funding. We've drawn significant funding from it. We draw it every year.
So some of that is funding the tie-up scheme, isn't it, at the moment?
So for example, in relation to spending in piers.
But is some of it at the moment funding up the tie-up scheme?
No, I have accessed the Brexit Adjustment Reserve to fund the current tie-up scheme.
Okay.
And that's because I've accessed new separate funding and provided a mechanism to do that, because I wanted to ensure that we keep as much funding as possible and access as much funding as possible to support the fishing sector. So therefore I've drawn new funding into the system now to actually fund the tie-up scheme. But I am monitoring the situation, because if additional support and if the economic situation indicates additional support is necessary, it's something I'm monitoring on an ongoing basis. So, for example, if we look at marine fuel, prior to the invasion of Ukraine in February, the cost per litre was 62 cents a litre. That went up then in June to as high as €1.11 a litre. It dropped down in August to 97, and the current price for marine fuel is 83 cents a litre. So marine fuel is very different from other fuels in that there's no excise duty whatsoever on marine fuel, and also all of the VAT in marine fuel is reclaimable. So it's very much tied to the base price of what a barrel of oil is. Fuel has dropped over the last couple of months, thankfully. I've introduced the tie-up scheme, and the way that works is that in any 1 month, instead of 3 vessels out fishing the quota, 2 vessels go out to fish it, and the other vessel gets paid to tie up, and they get paid what they would have been making if they'd actually been fishing in that month. So it effectively therefore means that the 2 vessels that still go out to fish, they're catching the same quota that the 3 would have been catching before, but obviously you've just 2 catching it. So it enhances the economic viability of actually going out to catch that fish. So that's the way the tie-up scheme works. And that is I had already, as you know, we've talked before about the task force, the Sea Fisheries Task Force that I put in place, bringing all the fisher representatives together to advise me in relation to how to support the sector coming out of Brexit. They had requested a 1-month tie-up scheme this year, which I had in place. Following the invasion of Ukraine, then all of the fisher representatives again sought to meet with me, and they specifically requested of me that I would do a 2nd month of a tie-up scheme to specifically respond to the fuel challenges there. I have that now in place. That will run up to the end of November. So it means between June past and the end of this November, every month, instead of 3 vessels being out fishing, 2 will be out fishing, and the one that's in port in any given month will get paid, while the other 2 are fishing the quota, and all of the quota will be fished.
Yeah.
So, but obviously what the fishing representatives are saying now is that they would like to access this European fund as well for additional direct cash funding to further support at the moment. The challenge with that, of course, is that we're using tomorrow's money for today, and that's obviously a decision that you consider carefully. So I'm closely monitoring the situation. Thankfully, from last month to this month, we've seen a significant drop in marine fuel. I'm monitoring it week by week, month by month, and if the economics require it, I will be very much open to stepping in, as I have already done.
And I presume when you talk about the economics, you're talking industry-wide rather than maybe some individuals within it that might have a different point of view. Okay, that's fine. That's the answer. People can make up their own mind. Briefly back to the school buses, though. People feel that you're spinning, Charlie, that your office or you aren't answering phone calls and that it's talk and that you're not going to deliver on this bus for Clonmany. I'm saying that to you now rather than you going off air and me reading a series of texts. So people feel that you're not actually engaging in this and that you're spinning it a little bit and you're not being clear as to when the Clonmany situation will be resolved. As you know, there's 30-odd families affected by that. It's not insignificant. So as I say, I want to be fair and give you the sentiment coming into me whilst you're on the call still.
No, there's no spinning here, Greg. I'm being accurate, and I'm telling you as much as I can at this moment. My office and I have been inundated by calls, as you can expect, no more than yourself, in relation to school transport issues since the school term started. We've been working then with Minister Foley to see how we can resolve that, and with Bus Éireann. Some of those issues have managed to find a solution. The solution to Clonmany is an extra bus, which I'm hoping we can get an answer on very soon. And then in relation to the other issues across the county, I'm working with Minister Foley as well to see if further flexibility can be given in relation to more capacity. So listen, it's been a really challenging couple of weeks for families. There has been a massive amount of work and energy gone into trying to address it, and it's still ongoing, but we're making progress, and I certainly expect in the next short period we'll be able to make more progress.
Donegal Senator Niall Blaney says Fianna Fáil should allow former Taoiseach Bertie Ahern back into the party. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think, and I was at the parliamentary party meeting last night where Niall made his comments, and he was very much speaking in regard to the Good Friday Agreement and the massive contribution that Bertie Ahern made. I don't think the Good Friday Agreement would have happened without the contribution of Bertie Ahern and the leadership of Fianna Fáil at that time. It's now just coming up to 25 years next year. And I think the key point there is recognising the massive contribution that he actually made. His membership of the party is a matter for the national executive of the party.
Would you like to see him back in?
Well, what I'd like to see is the massive contribution he made properly recognised.
By being back in Fianna Fáil?
By recognising the contribution he.
But you're doing that now. You're recognising it now through words.
Yeah.
But by action, do you think the party could recognise that by sort of saying, do you know what? The tribunal said what the tribunal said, but you did really good at the peace process. Come on back.
Yeah, I don't think that detracts or adds really to the recognising what he actually did and the contribution that he made as Taoiseach and indeed that Fianna Fáil and would have made to actually delivering that Good Friday.
Okay, so you're open to him rejoining Fianna Fáil?
The membership is, in some ways is a distraction to that, and different members will have views and perspectives on it. But I think as we go towards the Good Friday Agreement 25th anniversary,
you think he should be in Fianna Fáil on the quarter century anniversary of that? I mean, that's what you're saying.
Listen, I mean, his
Minister,
membership of Fianna Fáil.
Yeah, with all due respect,
if I can finish.
It's a yes and no kind of an answer, though.
Yeah, listen, his membership of Fianna Fáil is very much a matter between himself and the national executive. Obviously, there was a decision to cease his membership at the time, 10, 12 years ago, for a good reason at that time. But that should not detract in any way.
But Minister,
from
you're making it really hard. You're making it really hard for us to cut a clip out here to get an answer from you. And you're good. You're good. I'm not going to lie. You are good. But I'm asking you one last time.
The bottom line here.
Would you agree? Do you agree with your party colleague Senator Blaney that now is the time, in recognition of Bertie Ahern's contribution, that he be welcomed back into the Fianna Fáil party in a sort of a yes or no way? Do you agree with Niall Blaney?
I'm not seeking for him to become a member of the party again. What I'm seeking for him to become is his role to be recognised. And listen, the membership issue is very much a distraction to that, Greg.
Well, I didn't bring it up. It was Niall Blaney brought it up and others. Okay, you're not answering that question. And sometimes not answering a question in and of itself is an answer. And I've said that before and I'll say it again.
My answer is I think the membership issue is a distraction, Greg. And
All right, we've lost the line there. I hope it will come back.
In the moment it was for the country. The fact that it wouldn't have happened without him, and indeed every time he still speaks, we all, I think, stop to listen in Northern Ireland because of his insight and leadership on the issue.
All right, okay. Speaking to people affected by Mike, I won't keep you very much longer, by the way, but we haven't spoken to you for a while. Speaking to people affected by Micah, I get the impression they've given up on on this government, Minister. They've given up on this government delivering this scheme, and they're waiting to see if Sinn Féin can fulfil all of their promises. And I'll tell you, it'll be some trick if they can. But they're waiting on Sinn Féin to fulfil their promise on the Micah scheme, that it would be fully funded 100%. And, even to the point whereby they're wondering, is it worth even going down to this protest next week? Because, as I say, this government ain't going to deliver. What is the status of this scheme at the moment, and when will it start to deliver? And what do you think needs to be done now to make people feel that there is some hope?
Well, just first of all, on Sinn Féin, Sinn Féin were asked for their contribution and suggestions in relation to the Micah scheme by Minister O'Brien in advance of the legislation being framed, and there was nothing received. And indeed, they've promised to introduce a bill as well, which still hasn't been seen. So what the government actually has done is actually introduce legislation for the new Micah scheme. And as you know, it's something we have discussed on many occasions. I fought very hard at cabinet level to try and deliver on behalf of Micah homeowners and working with on behalf of the Micah representatives and the Micah group. We didn't get everything we wanted as part of that outcome, but I think the scheme we have is a really, really strong one. And I think what families want to see now is that actually delivered upon and it actually followed through. And that's the key focus I have and the Fianna Fáil party in Donegal have now. I and my our team of councillors, along with Sandra Blaney, will be meeting with the Donegal County Council management just on this Monday coming to discuss this issue and to discuss housing in the county in general and how we can deliver on the Housing for All strategy and funding that is coming to deliver a new housing, but also particularly
the sense is that this scheme is stalled. It's a non-runner. It's not working. There's a backlog. Nothing's happening. People are facing into a winter with holes in their houses. They can't heat them. We are literally where we were this time last year and this time the year before. What can you say as it relates to getting houses fixed, getting them even some remedial work to get people through the winter? What hope can you give Micah homeowners, defective concrete block homeowners today? What hope can you give them?
Well, it has gone far too slow, and it has been too stalled along the way. And what the focus of the government and myself is, and all in the Fianna Fáil party in Donegal, is actually making the scheme deliver. The legislation, thankfully, was passed in mid-July. That was really important in relation to getting the new updated terms and conditions, the new cap, 425,000 cap, etc., in place. The key thing now is actually getting the regulations in place over the course of this autumn period and actually managing that transition from the old scheme to the new scheme. But really importantly, in the meantime, trying to ensure as many houses as possible are moving through the system. We've had about 13 houses. Really? Well, we've had about 12 or 13 houses in the county fixed at this stage and finished.
Yeah, that's
There's
embarrassing.
about 50 under. It's far too small. There's about 50 underway. But there's too many others which don't have the clarity they need in terms of how they can move forward. So that's the objective here, Greg, and that's what I'm working with the Donegal County Council, with all of our councillors across the county to try and make progress on, and then working with Minister O'Brien and the Department of Housing to try and ensure that coordination is there to move as many of them through the system as possible. I think we have come a long way. We have a hell of a strong scheme now compared to what was there before. The legislation is now in place as of the middle of July. The key thing now is actually moving that 50 which are underway and getting that significantly increased and bringing clarity to everybody as to where they stand with regard to their own.
When's that going to happen?
Sure that
when are people going to have some clarity? Because there are people. I don't have to get a motive on it because I hope you understand. But there are people really, they cannot take any more, Minister. This is literally people's lives at stake here. You know yourself, you're a dad, I'm a dad. We would never want to have to raise our children in the conditions that people are having to, in terms of, people move to one end of the house, cold, damp houses. Do you know what I mean? This is something morally that can't be allowed to drag any longer.
Yeah.
We know but beyond words, when are we going to start seeing this move? When are we going to start seeing people having some sort of bit of hope?
Well, it's unbelievable stress for every family affected. So the next step now is for the regulations under the legislation to be introduced. The Department of Housing have committed to doing that by the end of this year. And in the meantime, then working with Donegal County Council to ensure that the existing scheme, the previous scheme, which is still operational, that as many houses as possible can can progress under that and then benefit from the updated terms and conditions from the new scheme there as well. So
but until we know whether or not foundations are included, how can anyone progress in this scheme? It's at a standstill until that's sorted.
Yeah. So a big part of the challenge and a big part of the issue and the lack of clarity is around the new deleterious materials, which weren't part of the equation at this stage last year in terms of the knowledge of the issue, and which very much are now the issue, particularly of pyrrhotite, for example. So that the National Standards Authority of Ireland have earlier this year been commissioned with the job of actually providing the scientific advice around how pyrrhotite should be considered in relation to deciding what appropriate remediation options are for homes. Obviously, the initial scheme was dealing with mica and pyrite. The National Standards Authority did have the guidance around mica and pyrite, but the pyrrhotite, as homes have been tested in big numbers over the last year, has emerged as an issue. Okay. And for a number of properties, getting the clarity is not there at the moment because the scientific advice around pyrrhotite isn't available. The National Standards Authority have indicated that in early 2023, early next year, they hope to have that back so that the housing agency will then be able to make decisions on those homes. Right. But that is undoubtedly something that means that clarity can't be brought at the moment for some homeowners.
Right, okay.
And we've asked for that to come back as quickly as possible because it has to be the scientific and the engineering advice that leads how we progress, because whatever remediation option is chosen for houses, it has to be one that lasts a lifetime and that stands the test of time, and therefore it has to be engineering-led.
Finally, will you be Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine when Leo Varadkar takes over as Taoiseach?
I hope so. It's somebody who comes from a small sheep and suckler farm in Glenealy, Greg. It's an honour to lead out for the country in terms of supporting farm families, and indeed challenging and all as it has been to work to do everything I can to support our fishing sector as well. I believe I've worked really hard at that. I believe I've worked to try and do good work for the county in that process too. And that's all one can do.
Do you know at this stage, or when do you find that kind of information out?
Probably won't know until the day of or the day before.
Right, okay.
And it'll be a decision for Micheál Martin.
Yep, he has a certain amount of ministries, and he can decide whether to leave you where you're at or although
he has five senior ministries. I think there's maybe 7 or 8 counties in the country that have a senior minister. It's definitely something. Being at the cabinet table through Mike and all the other issues, it's definitely is really important to be able to have a cabinet representation and work hard to deliver every way you can for a county. But listen, I mean, all you can do is your best, so that we will see come mid-December.
Okay, listen, thanks for all of your time this morning. I appreciate it. That's Minister for Agriculture, Marine and Food, Charlie McConnell.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
New this week in Home Store and More. All clothes errors are half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price clothes errors are gone, they're gone. Also, all mattress toppers and all stools and chairs are still half price. But when all the half price mattress toppers and all the half price stools and chairs are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
At GMG Stone, we have special end-of-season offers on decorative stone, garden paving, slabs and artificial grass. Treat your garden to a final makeover this summer. Call into GMG Stone beside Donaghy Motorhomes on the Port Road. But hurry, offers only while stocks last. GMG Stone, just what your garden needs.
An enduring power of attorney, or EPA, is a legal document which appoints someone I trust to make decisions about my finances, property and personal welfare if I can't due to frailty, illness or disability.
It's good for everyone that Dad has an EPA. If needed, we will know who he trusts to make certain decisions and what his preferences are.
Plan ahead and safeguard yourself. Talk with your solicitor about making an enduring power of attorney. See safeguardingireland.org.
An important timetable update from TFI Local Link Donegal, Sligo, Leitrim, route 953 Moville to Letterkenny. Great news from Monday, September 19th. TFI Local Link route 953 Moville to Letterkenny will be extended to Greencastle and will now service locations including Kildaff, Glenealy, Greencastle and Bridgend, operating up to 3 times per day, 7 days a week. The enhanced route will now provide a new peak time service for students and commuters into Letterkenny, arriving for both 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and returning at 5 p.m, as well as improved connectivity to regional bus services for onward travel. For timetables, fares and all route information, see locallinkdsl.ie or call our office on 074 9741 644. TFI Local Link, part of the Transport for Ireland network.
Flying soon from Dublin Airport? Use these simple tips to help you bring liquids, gels, pastes and sprays through security. For more, visit dublinairport.com/prepare.
Book a private VIP screening at Century Cinemas. Perfect for celebrating birthdays and special occasions. Featuring a private VIP screening with luxury reclining seating, delicious popcorn and a brilliant choice of movies. For further information on our VIP packages, call Century Complex Letterkenny on 07491211976 or visit centurycinemas.ie.
To get that job done, call Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Generators, portaloos and lighting towers. Also diggers, dumpers, rollers and much more. With short-term, long-term and weekend special rates available. Call Gortley Sales and Hire on 91 26 276.
Sheridan Security now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing. Our bumper magazine has everything you need, including exhibitor listings, site map, event programs, plus directions on how to get there and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
For great food in the heart of Letterkenny's Cathedral Quarter, step into Dillon's Hotel. Using only the best local produce, Dillon's serve an extensive menu every day from 12. Perfect for a quick bite, a relaxed lunch or a leisurely dinner. Try the renowned 4-course Sunday lunch with full table service. Or if you work in town, why not pre-order and have your lunch waiting? Great food and service, 7 days a week at Dillon's Hotel Letterkenny, with live music every Friday and Saturday night. Visit dillons-hotel.ie.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme now. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of comments that I'm going to carry over till tomorrow morning. But we are in studio now with Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochder Garden Centre. So get your questions in if you have any. We'll be touching on an awful lot, I'm sure, over the next wee while. Good morning, Paul. Welcome back.
Hi, Greg.
Good to have you with us still. Weather pretty good, isn't it?
That's pretty good. All right.
Night's starting to get a wee bit cold now, though, we're being told.
Definitely. First signs of autumn tend to be there, all right. So I was working out in West Donegal there this week.
Mm-hmm.
And as you go through Dunlewy there, you can see the trees sort of across the lake. You can see the changes starting to happen in them now. So autumn's definitely setting in.
Yeah, and nature can't be held back, can it?
Absolutely not.
It can be maybe put off a little bit. But what we should be doing in the garden now, in terms of beds and stuff, what should we be doing there?
Yeah, beds pretty much, they should, because the weather's so good, they still should be flowering on. But at this stage, the wool will be starting to tail off. The plants will be starting to look a wee bit scruffy and that. So if you give them a wee trim up at this sort of this time of year, like around your roses, that sort of thing. If any leaves have fallen off, if you remove them, because the leaves tend to sort of overwinter diseases and stuff. So just give a general tidy up and add a layer of mulch to the bed, which will help sort of set them up for the winter.
Yeah, in relation to the leaves, I suppose too, it's not just the beds, but your lawn as well, because what happens is they're starting now, if you've got trees around your lawn and you're lucky enough to have a lawn, but very quickly it can be hard to manage. So maybe do it as you go if you have the time.
Yeah, pretty much if you have the time, sort of rake up the leaves as best you can, because a lot of people come in the summertime there saying they have problems with moss or that, and as opposed to sort of putting on treatments in the spring, summertime, if you actually do a wee bit of work now, it'll actually help.
Because it's like a blanket, isn't it, really, I suppose?
Pretty much what it happens is it's sort of a blanket forms on top of your lawn, and it holds down moisture and sort of usually humid conditions, which is perfect for the moss to grow in.
But you'd think they're sort of biodegradable, and in some way they'd act like a fertilizer, but it's just not like that. They're hardier than grass. They hang around much longer.
Pretty much in general, in a lot of sort of shaded gardens, it's the sheer volume. It's like if you had a wee layer, it'd be perfect, but it's the fact that they could be 4 or 5 inches deep. At times it's just too much at once.
Let's stay with the lawn. Is now a good time to put a bit of feed in?
Yes, now's a good time to actually do a wee bit of remedial work on your lawn. You'll be in the next few weeks you'll be getting the last cut on it, if you know what I mean. If you even give it a wee rake around that stage, like say remove leaves, debris and stuff on it, and you could even treat it over with a bit of sand or something just to increase the drainage in it.
And how long, if people are sort of looking towards the last cut, how long should you leave it? Because, the temptation would be to cut it tight and say, right, that's me.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's a fantastic idea.
No, pretty much, they reckon just sort of between 1.5 and 2 inches long. Perfect, leave the grass. And you're always running the risk of you may have to cut it later on again.
And you get little tufts where it looks a bit more obvious, where it's a bit more lively. It could be 3 or 4 inches.
No, like scalping it this time of year is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, especially frost and all those challenges. Right, okay, so we've tidied up the beds. We've put a bit of mulch down. Change summer plants to winter ones. That you're saying if necessary.
Yes.
You might still have a couple of weeks out of the summer ones.
You should do. It's funny, it all depends sort of on your situation, how well they've done for you, because even my own house there, the front of the house is still perfect, and the back of the house is getting wrecked because it just gets a wee bit more wind, if you know what I mean. So the back you could be changing, so probably within the next 3-4 weeks most of them will be starting to look a bit shabby.
And if you want to switch out your summer summer plants for winter ones, your summer flowers, what's a good options?
Good option, sort of the winter pansies are always very popular, and you get cyclamen as well, which are sort of wee woodland plants, but they're very good in terms of they're very good, that sort of thing. And you're looking at more sort of greens, you're looking at ivies, heathers, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay, your headphones there,
yeah.
Paul, you might stick them on.
Perfect.
Not too loud, everything okay?
No.
All right, Mary, good morning to you. You're through to Paul.
Hi, Mary.
Thanks, Greg. Hello, Paul. Sorry to disturb you. Paul, let me tell you, I have a list hydrangea out here, and it was set in 2017. Only 2 wee pink blossoms comes on every year. It doesn't matter whether you put tomato feed or any other feed to it. It doesn't do any good. The leaves turn red, but that's as far as it goes.
Yep. For the most part, most of the hydrangeas, the leaves will sort of turn red. But the best thing you do is now sort of leave them to about sort of November, December. Give them a light trim back this year. And actually, what I got, come St. Patrick's Day, that give them a feed. You get ericaceous feed, which is actually designed for hydrangeas and that type of plant. So if you give them,
you get that in Alcorns or any of them places,
you would. Aye, any of your local garden centres.
Alcorns, Ballochder Garden Centre.
So very famous place.
That's it. So now, but generally, any of your local garden centres, you're going to get that, and it's a good idea to give it a feed then at that point. And
I meant to mention your garden centre too, so I'm sorry about that.
Not at all.
So let it go now to November and put in a feed then. And do you have to put it into boiling water and cool it off then? No.
No, you wouldn't. Not. It should just matter.
No, just put in a feed.
Yes.
And November, and then it should have a better selection of flowers in March.
You should do. Is there grass around the plant, or is it?
A wee bit, but it's cut regularly. The young fella cuts it for me.
But not if you could actually remove a wee bit of grass, even 6 inches out from the plant, and sort of replace it with bark. It leaves it not sort of competing with the grass, if you know what I mean.
A wee bit of bark, a tree or something.
Yeah, someone like that would be perfect.
All right.
Great, Paul. Just let it go to November. Thanks very much.
Good stuff, Mary. Thank you very much for that. Also, too, and it seems also almost counterintuitive who those that aren't in the know, but you can start planting stuff in your veg patch now.
Yeah, you can actually sort of, from now on there, you get hardy onions that you can overwinter. Like the onions you can be planting in your veg patch.
How do you know they're hardy? Do they have tattoos?
Exactly.
Sleeves rolled up?
Yeah, just have a general look about them. So they do. But stuff like that there, or actually peas and beans are actually frost hardy as well, so you can get them in at this stage, and you're not going to get a crop before winter, if you know what I mean, but you will get an early crop in the spring.
All right, I got an orchid flower. It's beautiful, but the flowers have fallen off. How do I care for it?
Care for pretty much just keep up with the water, and like orchids, like a lot of things, the flower is very long lasting on them, but it does change every so often, so you might just be in a period of change with it, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
So if you just keep it watered, it should be.
When to cut down my rose bushes, Paul?
Rose bushes generally depends how well they're if they're still flowering quite well, we'll leave them a while. But generally you're into sort of end of October, November, cut them down, and not sort of to the final level. I would leave about 3 or 4 inches on them, as opposed to the optimum level, and then cut them down again to the final level by St. Patrick's Day.
All right, what's the fastest growing hedge, and how long might it take to grow 5 feet?
Fast growing hedge, Gristlinia would be our number one. So it would be we evergreen plants got nice round sort of lime green leaves, and that'd be your fastest growing hedge. And it's not too fussy about where it grows either.
And 5 feet?
5 feet, you'd be chatting, depending on the ground, you'd be chatting sort of 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, okay. Polytunnel doors open or closed at night time? This is that question again.
From now on, I'd nearly be tempted to close them at night. So it's just getting a bit cooler.
How do I get caterpillars off my curly kale?
Generally, if you're going to cause kale with someone, you're going to be sort of eating fairly regularly, like eating fairly soon from things, so it wouldn't be sort of going chemical treatments. Probably the most effective way is actually just to physically remove them.
Yeah.
Where you see them, just remove
time
them with your hand.
but it's
brush them
intensive,
off.
but that's it. Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
I had a new Guinea impatiens growing in a large pot last week. I went to water it and found it completely withered. It was okay the day before. What could have caused this to happen overnight?
Overnight is strange for someone like that there. Generally, sort of an impatiens like that there is actually going to be sort of, from now on, it's going to be dying off anyway, but it shouldn't go that suddenly. I would, if it's dead, you might as well take it out anyway, but I would inspect the roots to see if there are any problems with it, or if you can see any sign of insect damage. It sounds to me like it could be something like vine weevil.
Yeah.
Would attack it, and they can actually damage it overnight.
How do you feed your hedge, Paul?
Our good old traditional remedy for everything.
Chicken poo.
Chicken poo, yes.
Right, okay.
So
it's kind of slow release. It's rich.
Exactly. It's slow release, so you can't really you can use more chemical fertilizers, but you're running a danger of doing more harm than good. Whereas the chicken poo, generally, it's over 3 months it'll release its energy, and it's perfect for this time of year.
Okay. When will we be back? Are you back again? We're not finished for winter yet, are we?
No, I think we'll do another one before the end of September.
Brilliant. Excellent. Okay.
Perfect.
Paul, listen. People can see you and the rest of the crew down at Ballochder Garden Centre and he's loved chatting. Bring photos in, ask any questions,
Absolutely.
all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And we found snowdrops for our caller the last time.
Yes, funny. I was listening to them actually the last day I heard that. All right.
I just love the idea of someone walking around Duns and thinking, what was Paul and Greg and that lady on about again? But there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Listen, brilliant stuff. Thanks for your time.
Thank
as
you very
always.
much.
Take care.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm planning on studying construction management in ATU Donegal this September.
I'm Shannon, and I studied business.
If you want to follow in our footsteps and study in ATU Donegal, check out Available Places, which is now open on the CAO website.
It's not too late to choose ATU Donegal. The future is here. For more information, visit lyit.ie.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, your football specialist. Multi-buy discounts on footballs from Mitre, Adidas and O'Neill's. Training equipment, cones, bibs, water bottle sets. View our complete range on bmcsports.ie. Have your team look the part with some Adidas leisure wear. New Entrada 22 quarter zips with matching bottoms. Training packs available for all ages. Look the part, play the part. In-store, online, mobile. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Patterson's The Hall Lifford, one of Ireland's largest kitchen and interior showrooms. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Kitchens, beds, mattresses and furniture, all under one roof. 50% off our ex-display kitchens. Everything you need to make a house a home. At Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
At Abbott, a global healthcare company, we are dedicated to helping people live more fully while providing our employees the opportunity to build a career with a purpose and live their own best lives. Now you can join us to shape the future of diabetes care in our Donegal location. 1 in 10 people around the world live with diabetes, and our operations in Donegal will help people worldwide manage their health more effectively and comfortably. We are looking for engineering, quality, medical device manufacturing and other science-based professionals that want to be part of this exciting opportunity. Make your next career move today by visiting jobs.abbott.com/Donegal or visit us on Facebook or LinkedIn. Abbott, we build careers and change lives too.
This week at Super Value, we've got amazing offers to help you save, like selected cupboard fillers like Nescafe Gold Blend Smooth 200 gram and Lily O'Brien's truffles, €5 each. And don't forget, with Super Value's unbeatable own brand range, along with money off vouchers every week, Super Value makes saving money as easy as
1, 2, 3, go!
Cutting Through the Spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Free inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, your essential guide to the ploughing. Our bumper magazine has everything you need, including exhibitor listings, site map, event programs, plus directions on how to get there and where to park. Don't miss your free guide to the ploughing inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
There was a monster who lived in the trees, in the house that would rattle and shake in the breeze. It was cold and small, with a terrible leak that would drip on her head and her hands and her beak. She needed it fixed and all in one batch, because she had an egg that was ready to hatch. So she went to the credit union for a renovation loan and got new windows, insulation, and extended her home. Monster loans from the credit union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin. Bathroom yard sale starts Thursday the 15th to Saturday the 17th of September. Be quick or you'll miss out on bargains galore. Toilets, vanity units, wet room screens, shower cubicles and more. In-store 15% off all bathware. Remember, 3 days only. Miss it, miss out. Telephone 91 43942.
Is your current car ready for a change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town, as we have a great selection of quality approved Skodas and Seat used cars, which are fully serviced, fully prepped and ready to go. With finance available and cars to suit all budgets, let us help you upgrade your car today. For more information, call DMG Motors on 074 97 21 396 or view our current used stock on dmgmotors.ie.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
This week at Centra, choose from amazing mega deals, like Bird's Eye selected chicken breast fillets better than half price, now $3.60 each. Centra fresh Irish diced beef 410 gram, only $3.50. And a Bellio Albarino wine, only €10. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day. Enjoy, call sensibly.
Okay, right. Time to catch a couple of your comments before we have to go. It's been another really, really busy show. We appreciate all your communications. As I say, I know a lot of you took the time to get the phone out and to message us, and we will get to them tomorrow morning, the ones we don't get to today. Morning, Greg. With respect to Charlie McConnell, he's not listening to the fishers who know more than he does. Lost all faith in Charlie and his government. Right, that's your view. Thank you. Good man, Greg. The politicians that have been representing Donegal over the last 100 years have done very little for the county. We get nothing except for what the Lord has given us. Why doesn't Charlie McConnell meet regularly with fishermen and explain how he is working tirelessly on their behalf to better their livelihoods? That way, they would be delighted to know that he was fighting their corner. It seems that monitoring a situation takes a very long time. Is it possible? I heard the Minister reference it a couple of times, that he's engaging with the fishers' representative groups, the likes of the KFO, etc., and is the message from them being passed down to members? I don't know. I don't know what's happening or whether those meetings are taking place. Can Charlie just not accept there should have been foresight instead of this rubbish spin? He's doing himself absolutely no favours by not answering questions directly. Another, oh my God, Charlie McConnell, how much more talking to sort out extra buses for children? Another here, as a parent of a child who's running for a seat every morning, Charlie McConnell has not returned a single call to me. That is just not good enough. Via email from Kieran, the Minister continuing monitoring the fuel issue 2 months after meeting the fishing industry, who requested the funding from the funds available approved by the EU. It's not acceptable. His reasons stated this morning are not credible. It's a lazy excuse. The industry is in a crisis situation now. Future projects can wait. Fuel subsidies needed immediately to keep family businesses afloat. And as much as I could, and given my knowledge of the situation, I tried to I tried to get the answers for you as clearly as I could. That's a huge statement from Charlie. The peace process would not have happened without Bertie Ahern. Ridiculous. Of course it would. Any Irish politician who wants the best and peace for Ireland would have carried this through and done just as good a job as Bertie. Politicians, big egos, and absolutely useless, they say. There were friendship. I mean, if you listen back to how that process did come to pass, there was definitely relationships built, back channeling and some trust established. Perhaps it is perfectly possible that he was very influential in achieving the peace process, but maybe that in and of itself and what went afterwards would not be enough for him to be welcomed back into the Fianna Fáil party. Okay. Thank you so much for listening, watching the show, partaking in it in any way you did. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Stay tuned. John Bresson's on his way around the Northwest.